Halibut! Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Monday the 6th of December, 2010. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Robert Kemp.
Yes!
And Zachary Burgess.
Hello. He's returned to a classic.
Yes! Actually, that was a bit more like a whining horse than I was expecting, but
yes. Did they whine or winning?
Winning.
Yes. Where did that come from? That yes thing?
It was a Simpsons reference, wasn't it?
Oh, was it?
There was that guy. It's like, are you all right? Yes.
Oh God, yeah, the strangest character in all of the Simpsons. He had like a really strange little moustache, didn't he? And he kept turning up. They used him more than once, right?
Yeah, he came up a couple of times.
So, how's everybody doing? As I seem to ask every time.
Alright, yeah, alright, yeah.
Not quite as an eventful week as your.
No, I can't really sort of. It's weird after the madness that has been happening to me over the last couple of months. Suddenly to just sort of have a week where it's fairly normal is just, well, you know, you don't really talk about anything. It's just. So what I could talk about? Oh, I went to the shops. Yeah, I got a sweet deal on mushrooms.
Meanwhile, Zach has had by Zach's standard, he's had a pretty epically exciting week from the sounds of it. Like actual paid work. Is that right?
Well, yeah, but like for 3 days.
And then Rob's work.
Yes.
So what were you doing?
3D subtitling, which is like, I don't know, it's like moving subtitles around in 3D. And it was like the actual doing the subtitles part, you know, positioning the subtitles or whatever. That was relatively easy, but the whole surrounding of this project was all kinds of fucked up and bugged, which was entertaining for me,
let's
but not very entertaining for everyone else.
Yeah, let's not badmouth my company too much on air.
No,
libel.
Well, we haven't named them, so you know.
I'm sure we did in the past.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Mind. We could track me.
But it wasn't their fault,
anyway,
mostly.
No, some of it.
There was just lots of problems with the file, really.
That's just technical problems. Happens to everyone, doesn't it? That's what it's like working for technical company. Technical problems, they're everywhere.
Yeah. Let's just put it this way. It was another example on how everyone does 3D differently. This one had some extreme 3D in it, as in about a centimetre from your face type extreme 3D.
Well, like, yeah, a hand coming out and slapping you, sort of thing.
Yeah, and we weren't doing it on a massive screen. It's big. It's like my one at home, but you know, a 40-inch. But some of the 3D effects they were doing, if they were to blow that up onto cinema screen or even projector screen, it would hurt.
Yeah,
I mean, really hurt to try and work out.
Were they like emphasizing it because it was a smaller screen, like having a more extreme effect because it wasn't a cinema?
Maybe. I mean, maybe that's what what the clip's been designed for. In which case, that's fine. But it's, just some extreme shots.
So where does
and extreme changes of shots as well? Oh,
in 3D,
if you're doing subs, basically what you do is you have to put them as close to the focal point as possible in terms of 3D space and visual space in 2D space as well, in the sense that you can't be too far away because actually physically on the screen, because the focal difference is a problem. Yeah. And often and also there's the risk of 3D collisions because of the way subs are drawn. They have to be overlaid over the footage.
Yeah.
So you have to position them in a way so stuff in front of the sub that is already in the footage doesn't immediately collide, and because your brain just goes, that's wrong. Oh,
it must hurt. So, if there's some character like popping out of the screen towards you, like it's moving towards you in 3D, then the subtitles are probably moving towards you as well.
You've got to put them at the you've got to put them as far out as possible, so you don't cut into as. You've got to keep it as similar to the scene as possible, because it's one of the other problems is refocus, in the sense that it takes your eyes time to change between focusing on something close to you to focusing something away from you, and if that change is too big, sometimes it's too difficult, as in your brain can't quite understand what's going on. It's strange. Like if you have something that's miles out of scene and something miles in the distance, if you want to try and look at that something in the distance after looking at the thing in front, sometimes that's really hard just because of the rest of the scene around you.
Right, yeah.
And it's weird, because that's one of those phenomena that you don't get in real life. You can focus on whatever you want in real life, but in stereo 3D, it's the rest of the scene makes a difference.
It's weird because different people in the cinema are seeing kind of different images depending on what they choose to focus on, whereas everyone sees the film.
Exactly.
You know, with a standard film, everyone sees the exact same thing all the time, don't they? Really, as long as they're not covering part of the screen or something. Craziness.
Yeah,
I wonder how
needless to say, it's a bit challenging in places where you just look at a scene and you're like, what the hell are we going to do here with this bit of text?
Well, in a couple of cases, there was, because they'd gone for such ridiculously extreme 3D, there was a couple of places where we couldn't actually move the subtitles far enough out of the screen to match what the thing you were looking at was doing.
Yeah. The software my company has developed sort of has limits on what we consider safe movements, so we're only allowed to go so far into the screen and we're only allowed to come so far out, and it was beyond those safe limits and then some. It was crazy.
Surely, like, when the craziest 3D stuff is happening, then there's nobody really talking in those moments in action films, are they?
Well, that's the problem. It's not an action film. No, it was essentially a documentary with narration. So something, and because and some shots are of little things, so they come right at you because of the cameras that were used. And
I see. Richard Attenborough, or whatever, talking over like crazy 3D starfish.
Well, it was like a bunch of underwater footage of like sharks and turtles and shit, only it was narrated by the turtle, so, you know. Obviously it wasn't actually narrated by the turtle.
As awesome as that would be.
Was it, was it live action?
It was narrated from the turtle's perspective.
Yeah, it's not an animation, it's proper film.
Oh, okay.
And then at the end there was a mysterious bit where they decided not to film in 3D.
Yeah,
they're just like, oh, good, I don't have to do anything with these subtitles. Skip.
Yeah, it's like, we've run out of things to do. Archive footage.
Really?
Yeah, never mind. I can't rip it too much. As I say, they are a client. We do appreciate their business.
On this business-oriented podcast. Let's get back to the games. Yes. That's what this podcast is about.
Don't say let's get back to the games. You were the one who started that conversation. And then
it's interesting, but I'm steering away. Okay. Rob started last week. Yes. So let's start with Zach this week. What have you been playing, Zachary Burgess?
Well, a bunch of stuff that probably is not going to be any interest to talk about. So
let me stop you there a second. Me and you listen to the Bombcast, don't we?
Yeah.
I found myself saying the word bunch constantly after listening to them for 2 hours a week. Like, everything's a bunch of everything. Is that American?
I don't think I've ever noticed that.
I don't know. Is it kind of British to say I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts?
Possibly.
A bunch.
That's a very specific one.
That's a carry-on sort of thing.
Yeah,
but it's like a bunch. I've been playing a whole bunch of this.
Man, thanks a bunch. Yeah, I suppose it is more American than us, because we say a bit more than a bunch.
Yeah.
It's like we've been playing it a bit. Oh, no, but that's more of a negative thing, isn't it? It's kind of a less thing. Not much, but we've been playing it loads, or we've been playing it for ages.
It'd be a load. Like, the sentence he used just there would have been, I've been playing a load of games, wouldn't it? That's what he would have said. But now he says, I've been playing a bunch of games.
Or shit tons.
I don't know.
That'd be you. Anyway, carry on.
Didn't notice.
Bunch of games.
I didn't notice them saying anything in particular a lot, but I guess maybe I wasn't paying attention. Yeah.
Oh,
that time I actually did say a load.
Yeah. You said a lot.
I've noticed that Jeff does this thing where he says when he's not sure about something he's going to say, he says, "I want to say." So he says, "I want to say it comes out in November."
Yeah.
You know what he means.
I have no idea.
Anyway, he means I'm not sure. It's a kind of a strange thing. It's like I want to say, and then he actually says what he wants to say. It's like, well, if you want to say it, then say it. Anyway, bunch of games.
Yeah, not any. Well, I'm just basically, here's a list of games I've been playing. Choose one to talk about. So, okay, so there's been Eve.
Oh, this is a game, a potluck. Oh, we'll have to spin a little.
Yeah, you'll have to wait until I'm done.
Roulette wheel.
Okay, we don't have a wheel of news.
There's Eve. Startopia again. Team Fortress, obviously. I don't know why I'm listing that even, but there's been World in Conflict, World of Goo, and that game that's just 6 V's in a row, which I'm going to only refer to as V because I can't be asked to say V.
Or would you pronounce it as V?
No, because that's stupid.
Okay, well, first of all, what do you think of this TF2 beta idea? Have you heard about
Well, I haven't actually
cool.
installed it or anything, and I just read like what's different in the beta. You know, the changes that they're testing, basically.
Yeah.
And, well, basically it seems like one of the main things that they're testing in this current version of it, I guess, is a whole bunch of different options of how they might change Natasha, which is fucking good, because everyone hates it.
I like it.
Yes, but it's so fucking annoying. That,
It doesn't do enough damage, but I like it.
That's way too much damage.
No,
it's too much now, isn't it?
It just holds you down, and then it just instantly owns you in the face.
I don't know, I'd prop it a little bit. It has too much tail off with distance, in the sense that at any kind of range, it does nothing.
It's the same with all the miniguns, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, but with Sasha at range, you're dealing actually a reasonable amount of damage. You're doing at least double what Natasha does at range, and it's...
But you shouldn't really use the heavy at range. So
I know, but you don't get a lot of choice half the time. You know, if you're a sandwich heavy, you've got your minigun or your fists. What are you going to do?
Well, the trouble is that the changes they're making to Natasha are mostly actually sort of buffs, which is kind of annoying, because it's like, it doesn't need more. For fuck's sake. It's like, apparently, according to this list that I'm reading of the actual changes, you've got 3 different variants that they're testing at the moment. One is just plus 40% damage, which is just like, no. Get the fuck out. The second one is plus 25% damage, but minus 25% health, which is probably okay.
Yeah,
that sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the last one is spin up and down time increased, and slow down on hit effects fall off over distance. So if you're further away, you don't get slowed down as much. Which might,
you see, my problem with Natasha, and I think why you have a problem with Natasha specifically, Zach, is because you play as light classes most of the time. And yeah, that's its intention, is that against light classes it's awesome. But against demos and heavies and soldiers, it is a complete joke at any range. It's too underpowered for most of them.
I don't know.
So it's weird. It's only effect, and the annoying thing is the heavy will come across the heavier classes more often than he will the lights, apart from the scout. And it's against the soldier specifically. That's my big annoyance with it. Against the soldier, you pretty much always lose.
Unless you're playing soldier, in which case you can't win no matter what you do somehow.
No, I'm having a serious suck period as every class I play as at the moment.
I switched off the direct hit back to what. Well, I was trying out the black box because I never play soldier, so I was just like, I switched off the direct hit back to what you might consider a sort of regular rocket launcher with the slow moving rockets and splash damage, and I was like, whoa, fuck, how the hell do you use this thing? Because somehow I'd even got used to using the direct hit, sort of, in the kind of shitty way that I did.
I mean, we've talked about my phases with weapons before, but I'm in the phase at the moment. I went through a sudden burst of, oh my gosh, the direct hit, it's like the best thing ever. I went on an awesome spree, and now I can't shoot it for shit. So I've had to start using the normal one and going for splashy approaches, which is also good, but you've got to play differently. And now I can't use direct hit at the moment. It's
I just couldn't work out normal rocket launchers at all. I was just like, whoa, no, how do you do damage to this thing? I can't get it to actually hit people, even though theoretically you've got like this whole splash damage thing that should make it really easy to hit people.
I've been having, I don't know if it's just me or whatever, but I couldn't help but notice some severely weird sort of outcomes with the damage count on the rocket launcher the last time we played. I was hitting people dead on, and it was coming up with a pop-up saying 20 damage, and I'm like, what? How does that work out? It's like I've just hit you in the face with a rocket, and it does, what, an eighth of your health in the case of a soldier? It's just, that doesn't add up.
As long as it wasn't the obvious, there's the obvious two things that actually do affect the damage of the rocket.
Oh yeah, sure. There is the whatchamacallit, the new...
The Taj and the new buff banner.
Yeah, but from 60, even if it was like 20% resistance like the Taj gains, that's 20% of 80 sort of damage at max, so you should get down to 60, not 20. There's no buff that can reduce it down to 20.
Unless it was both at the same time. Actually, I wonder if they stack like that.
Probably.
But
even then, that only adds up
minus
to
35% of... Yeah, it's minus 35% after it's taken off the other one, presumably. It doesn't just add the percentages.
So compound, that's probably 50% max, and that's still 40 damage, so it's... Or at range 30, maybe.
It just seems...
But, 20 just seems ridiculous. I don't see where that could have come from for a head-on
I've really been
shot.
considering trying to dig up whatever UI modification that was that I saw in a video one time, where it makes the damage pop-ups appear directly above your health, rather than over where you hit them. Because that might actually... so then you can see them more. Because sometimes you can't see them because it's like behind, in the ceiling or, whatever.
Yeah,
and
I wish
they don't appear.
I wish they'd make those damage pop-ups appear behind walls, so the ones where you shoot a rocket, run away or something, and then turn around or something, but it won't show you the hit because there's a wall in the way. I'd quite like to just be able to see them regardless of where they occurred. But maybe that's considered a cheating tactic because maybe it would happen. It would give away positions of people behind walls.
Yeah, but that's why you have the hit noise.
I know, but I like to see
you can hear no matter where.
Yeah, but I want to see the damage number, not just the hit noise. Hit noise is useful, but I want to see the damage. Just so I know, just so I can put my fears to rest about stupid damage hits.
I've been having it happen a lot lately.
All it's doing is confirming.
I've just been having a lot lately. I don't know what patch it was that bugged it up, but there seems to be a lot more cases where you swing a melee weapon and it plays it plays the sound as if you're hitting them, but it doesn't hit them. It's like, fuck.
You get the weapons sort of splash sound or whatever, but then you don't get the ding for the hit. So you're like, okay, which one of the systems isn't working properly?
That seems to have only started happening quite recently.
Yeah, I've noticed it myself.
I mean, I've never played with hit sound on anyway, but I just started it's because I use the bleed knife for the sniper, so that I can tell when I hit them because then they start bleeding.
Isn't there certain buffs now that can sort of make you resistant to bleed?
It's not really resistant. It's like the bleed thing is like if you get healed in any way, it stops bleeding. Obviously, if it's like the soldier rocket launcher that heals you on hit, that will cancel the bleeding.
Is bleeding just damage over time?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it's like the fire, but less obvious.
And more fucking up your view with its huge red overlay for some reason.
Oh.
Like Jarathi, only red.
Yeah, I've never seen that. I don't get it on my machine. I get just the red sort of blood icon on near the health, like the Milk's white icon, but red.
Yeah. Well, there's maybe
I don't get the. Yeah, I don't get the overlay.
I don't see it very often because I don't get hit by that.
Must be fairly
I'm just
rare,
lucky. Well, the engineer has his wrench that does bleed.
Oh, okay.
And then the sniper has the knife. It's not any other ones, I don't think. It's just those two.
Not that I can think of, no. Anyway, this is fairly in-depth TF conversation again.
So you think that the beta is a good idea then? Will you
definitely
go into it on occasion, do you think? Or I suppose when they announce something...
It depends whether if when you install it has to create an exact copy of all the files.
It does. It creates an entirely separate install.
No, god damn it, that's just stupid.
It's the only way to change stuff that doesn't affect your normal game and doesn't allow hackers in and all that kind of crap. It's a good idea.
Obviously it has to change some of the files, but couldn't it just make copies of the files it's changed and then pull all non-changed files from the normal game or something.
Yeah, but that would probably be a complicated game change, and that it has to be aware of they have to make the game aware of the beta and to load certain files at certain times, and that they're not compatible. It could, we don't know the internal structure of the game, and coming from a programming background, that could be a very annoying thing to change.
Well, surely it can load your controls from the Steam cloud, can't it?
You can load the cloud stuff presumably. Yeah. But the other trouble,
it probably gets treated like a separate game, in terms of the cloud, maybe. But...
Well, that would be
because you get all the unlocks automatically, don't you, in the beta, so you can try everything.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
The other question is how much population are there on servers on the beta, of course.
Well, there'll be tons now. There'll be none in a couple of months.
I'd imagine it'll be pretty popular though, because it's one of those things. As soon as they announce something, it's like I don't know. There are plenty of hardcore TF players. I mean, I'm probably one of those players that's borderline, as in I might if I had the time to do so, but at the moment I can't say I would. So I'd play the normal. Yeah.
Well, right now you probably could
like
get
Zac,
on if you
however.
Because there's only Valve run servers for the beta, obviously. So
true.
Because you can't run a beta server. No. That would be crazy. So
what I don't really understand why they...
Well, maybe you can, because it's a whole separate build of the game. Maybe you can.
I'm not sure they let you, though. I'm not sure.
Well, the thing that I don't really understand about it is why they're testing map changes on the beta. Why can't they just give you those map files, if to people who run servers, and just say, here's a modified version of a map that we're planning on putting in, run it on your server and tell us if you like it or not. Why does that have to be in the beta?
Because that's more maintenance. You end up with several versions of files hanging about, and it's easier just to have the one that everyone updates. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
It's because they have a standard for Valve maps, don't they? And they usually do internal testing, but this is just farming that out slightly, isn't it? So it's just halfway stage there.
I don't have a problem with that. It makes sense, because if it's going to be one of those changes that they roll out to everyone, then test it rolled out to everyone. Well,
it's like on the H8 servers, they still have the old version of that map I can't remember the name of.
Is it a community map? Oh, did Freight end up going official though?
Yeah, well, that's why it was really annoying when we were trying to play it for the actual matches, because the old version before it became official is called Freight Final, and then the version that's actually the one that the game uses now, the official version, is Freight Final _1, and it's like So if you don't know which one you're loading, you always end up going for the obvious one that doesn't have any extra shit on the file name, but that's the wrong one. So it's just even the H8 servers still have lots of old maps hanging out. I mean, it's like all the community maps that aren't official yet, I guess. That sort of makes sense. 3 different versions of
to be honest, you're talking about you're not talking about the right problem there. You're talking about the management of community maps, which is obviously completely up to the server managers. Because you're saying, they've got different versions of the map. But it's like, well, yeah, they do, because it was a community map before, and then it went official. But they've only got the one version of the official map.
There have been changes to official maps, though, that have been uploaded. Community changes.
You keep them all. Oh, community changes. Again, there you go. That's the key word there. If the community makes them, they're out of Valve's control. Therefore, it's up to server managers to do it. If they're official maps, they have to be... There's one type, because they're official. If they change the official map, then all the servers just get it. And it's an easy thing.
Why couldn't they just release it like it was a community change and say...
Because it forces everyone to do the work, and nobody wants that.
Or instead of, forcing people who want to test the new map to install the beta. Rather than just putting it on a server that they already play on and making them download the map from that.
I don't know. Sounds like too much work.
I'd say it's
I think they're doing it because it's easier just to have a beta program auto download it than to you to manage it and put it on the server and then have your users vote for it and blah 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 blah. I don't know.
I suspect I don't know. Maybe the beta servers only run those 2 changed maps. I mean, that would make sense in terms of getting maximum testing out of them.
Yeah, that's how they want to test the weapons and stuff. They might want to test something on a certain kind of map that they can't do with the new ones. They probably
you
just
might be right.
run whatever they need for the day or the week.
I guess because the problem with only running certain maps, the new maps with the new weapon changes, is that maybe the map doesn't offer the opportunities to test the weapon changes that they want.
I'm kind of worried by the
and that's
last
going to be a
thing on
hard
this
thing
list,
to
actually.
predict.
There's one more change that I didn't remember because it's the last one on the list. It's not specific to any weapon, but it just says players being healed by a medic are immune to movement impairing effects generated by hit scan weapons. So anything that knocks you back, Natasha, Force of Nature, Sentries, well, bullet part of Sentries, that's just like, what? So if you're being healed by a medic, even if you're not Uber, you can just walk as if it's not hitting you.
That's crazy, because that means the Force of Nature and the Air Blast, in theory, won't work on...
Well, the Air Blast is... I don't know, I guess the Air Blast is technically hit scan, but it's not a hit scan weapon, really.
But what, is it going to slow down the medic, so you're going to outpace the medic, and then you're going to run past, the medic's going to get stuck by the sentry fire.
What, because the medic will still be being
in.
effective?
Yeah, and then you'll use the beam, and then you'll just die instantly.
Maybe it's to try and get people to shoot at the medics more.
Was that in the beta, you say? I mean,
yeah.
Because they're just trying crazy stuff, aren't they? Like, I heard they're going to do run experiments,
double
like
health.
give everyone double health, stuff like that, and I don't know,
See how the balance changes.
Yeah, it's just for metrics and stuff. It doesn't mean they're going to put it in the game.
I don't know, because that's just like that one would have to be. The way it says it when it says being healed, it's like maybe it will turn back on when you Uber. That'd be funny. So it's like you can walk up to a sentry providing you're on an Uber, and then as soon as you get Uber, you just go wee.
That'd be really strange. Anyway, Team Fortress 2 is a game that you should play.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's spin the roulette wheel and land it on World of Goo.
Okay, we can talk about that. It's well, I finished it, I guess. It was one of the games that was in like the Steam sale indie packs.
Oh yeah.
And it was in there with V, so I was like, oh yeah, totally, I can get that and World of Goo for the cheaps. That's good.
Support indie developers.
Yeah, support them with like minus 80% profits, lol.
Yeah, but they probably made quite a lot more than they would have done at this stage. I mean, it's been out for ages. No one's going to buy it now unless there's a mysterious sale. And then
World of Goo would have, because World of Goo kind of has made a name for itself anyway.
Well, World of Goo came out on the Wii apparently, so.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it did.
I didn't know that. So it's like, so I guess it doesn't need any more help.
I didn't understand that because I played just the demo of World of Goo, and it still needed faster mouse movement than I could ever imagine doing on the Wii. Because some of the things
the pointer control you get pretty good at pointer control after a while.
Oh really?
Yeah, I'd say so. But some of the levels are pretty ridiculous in World of Goo. It has to be said. Where it's like you need to build things really quickly before it all falls over.
Yeah, I had like an oscillating bridge that was just a lever sticking out from. It's fairly early on, isn't it? I presume. And
I don't know.
because it was like held up half with balloons, and so it was falling over on itself.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
one.
and it was actually quite hard to time.
That was a tricky level, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and doing that on the Wii, I can't imagine. But never mind. Anyway, what's the rest of the game like?
Well, because it started off on the Wii, didn't it? Before it got ported to PC and the others. I thought Wii.
Well, it was originally a sort of miniature. It was really a tech demo at one point on PC because I still have the original file where it's just a singular exe file where there's no point to it. You just build a tower. Obviously, it's like get as high as you can or whatever. So it was like super indie where it wasn't even actually a game, and then they made it into a game. But yeah, so the rest of the game is just like I don't know. It got kind of weird because you think like you're building shit like bridges and towers and stuff. But it really gets it really turns into like a lot more specific mechanics where it's like less about just building structures and more about weird effects of certain specific types of goo and stuff. Which is kind of awesome, but kind of I don't know. It doesn't. It's
a bit of a puzzle game whole, that isn't it? In that you end up relying on the gimmick for a particular level too much, rather than the mechanics all gelling together.
Yeah,
because, there's kind of puzzle game. It's like the same problem with, well, they might as well bring this up now because it's a sort of similar game. EA's Create, which was supposed to be the new sort of 3D The Incredible Machine type game, except for the fact that it's the freedom of solving puzzles pretty much boils down to you get given the gimmick for the level, do the level with the gimmick, end, move on, and it's fallen directly into the hole of you don't really get any chance to create yourself. It's a rather ironic name, but it's.
I mean, it's almost what we were saying about Plants vs Zombies, which isn't a puzzle game, but sort of.
No, but no, but there are times in Plants vs Zombies where you can just. There comes a point in the game about halfway through where you don't really have to start using the unlocks. Every level, some of the unlocks come up, and it's like, why would I need that? And you stick to your normal routine, and.
Yeah, but it's got a bit of that.
There's the obvious few, but it makes more sense in that because it's like. You still have the rest of your mechanics to go by. It's not like the entire level relies on that one thing.
So what are the different kinds of goo then towards the end? What's the
because you start with the obvious. You start with the black goo, which is like the actual building structures stuff.
Yeah.
And then the second version is green, where it's basically the same as black, except you can disassemble it, so you can take bits apart that you don't need any longer and move on to a different segment, which is that's probably the best, because that's sort of that allows you to actually do awesome things. That's sort of actually a puzzle element. But then you get there's the watery kind of goo where you can only attach them into a big long hanging chain. So that's obviously incredibly limited in terms of what you can use it for.
Okay.
And when it gets really dumb by the time you get to I can't remember what level it is. It must be level. I say level. It's the group of levels. World, I guess. World 5 is the virtual world or whatever, where you're inside a computer. But the goo blobs you get in that one don't build anything at all. But the way their mechanic works is you click on them and then you drag it out and then they fire like a little catapult. So you have to ping them between platforms. It's this isn't even the same game any longer.
That's strange.
That's kind of cool, actually. I'd like to see that in action. I never got that far.
It's okay, but it's just there's 10 levels of just pinging stuff around. It's what happened to the puzzle?
You don't have to you don't have to build a structure as part of the puzzle, then, do you not?
Well, there are a couple of little bits where you extend this thing slightly so you can catch the things you're pinging at it.
That's what I thought, right?
But it's not yeah.
I mean, that could be quite interesting because surely there's a strategy element to the pinging, because if you build too much, if you could use the pinged ones to then build structures.
No, it's two different types of goo, unfortunately. The ping ones are separate from the building ones.
Because that could have been an interesting mechanic that if you use too much to build in one spot, and then you ping only a few across, and then you don't have enough to build in the second spot. That could have been an interesting strategic, that might have made you have to think about the levels a little bit and the type of structures you were building, because you'd have to.
Yeah, it's when you get the flinging mechanic, it does seem to be a bit sort of it loses the puzzle element. It's okay, I just have to get as many of these as possible from here to here, and then here to here, and then here to here. It's it's not actually a puzzle any longer. It's just getting the right angles. It's kind of weird, but I mean that's only one world. It's okay. Overall, I'd say it's pretty awesome. The last few levels are the hardcore. The last world with its hard puzzles is where it gets quite. You have to be quick on those ones, where you're building a tower, but you have to let it fall over and then catch it again with balloons in midair so it doesn't fall all the way, and then it sort of hovers so you can extend it a bit further.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that I thought must be quite difficult using the pointer.
Yeah, I had problems with that on the mouse. Mainly the balloons, because it's you take them off, and obviously as soon as you take it off, it's it starts falling more, and it's oh shit, I have to put it back on!
But then it takes a second to lift, doesn't it, after you put it on, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because the balloon has to rise a tiny bit. Yeah. Yeah.
So you get all kinds of wobbliness. But yeah, I know. I guess I could show that to Rob. I mean, it's I was saying to Rob, it's if he wants to see these things, I can probably show him, because they're all 50 megs or whatever, so it's not it takes a million hours to download them onto a new machine, or I can just copy them onto a freaking USB stick.
Yeah, you could just log into Steam wherever you are, and there's your game.
Yep, basically. I haven't tried. I mean, this pack, that indie pack that I got was.
What is the pack then?
It was World of Goo.
Okay.
V, Euphoria, which I played the demo of, but I haven't installed the full version of. Iron Grip Warlord, which I have no idea what the fuck it is, but it looks to be...
Sounds amazing.
it looks sort of like... Well, I haven't even looked at any information about it. I've only seen the background image on Steam, but it looks sort of like a close combat kind of thing, like top-down sort of World War II, move guys around and shoot things. I don't know.
Oh, like Commandos or whatever it's called.
Yeah. So I don't know what that is. I'll probably get round to trying it eventually. And the last one was Dot Clock and the Toasted Sandwich of Time, which I have no idea what the fuck that is either.
That has to be the best name for a game ever, though. The Toasted Sandwich of
I went to look at the achievements for it, and...
I assume it's a point-and-click adventure indie.
No, it's kind of a platformer with building.
Yeah, it looks to be sort of a combination. Well, I've read the achievements, and from what the achievement name suggests, it looks to be sort of a combination of World of Goo and like Braid, where it's like it has time manipulation and like constructing things.
You have to build like one of the major mechanics is building vehicles out of stuff just lying around. And putting it together and then making your way through a level using it. It's
cool. That's what they should have done with Gary's mod, you know.
It looked interesting, but it wasn't enough to make me buy the pack.
I mean,
so the other game you've actually you've actually played is V, right?
Yeah.
So what's V?
Isn't a long game. Yes, Rob, keep saying that. It's like a weird platformer where you don't jump, you just flip your gravity. And that's all there is to it.
Oh, right.
It's in like a weird pixel art style with chiptune music. So obviously that appeals to me.
Yeah, it's very Commodore, sort of ZX Spectrum type look to it.
Okay, but HD and all that.
Well,
probably not.
Is it? Or does it just straight up just look like...
Yeah, it's straight up old school, yeah.
It's pixely, basically.
Because sometimes they do like big blocky pixels, but with like a sort of Web 2.0 gradient sheen over the actual pixel. You know how they do that now?
No, this is definitely the pixel art.
Right, fair enough.
But yeah, so it's basically it's a matter of working out what you have to do to navigate your way through these rooms by only using your ability to flip gravity and timing, basically, because you have to like avoid moving things or whatever.
And you can't just jump out of the way because you have to flip the gravity.
Oh right, so when you say jump, can you not to jump? Do you have to flip the gravity twice then, basically?
No, you can't change it unless you're on the floor, so you can't actually jump. You can only flip and then re-flip when you hit something else.
So you can't remain in midair by flipping it over and over?
No.
Okay.
That would be a bit easy.
That's true.
But yeah, so that leads to obviously some ridiculous... There's the infamous sort of... It's only to get like a secret, you know, I know, I guess you call it like the 100% ending or whatever. You have to collect these special trinkets that are hidden around the level in like the difficult puzzles. But then there's like the infamous the last one of those is basically you come down through the screens and it basically pans you past the whole puzzle before you get to where you start that puzzle from. You're in like a side passage basically, and it's basically like 6 screens just stacked on top of each other. But you have to make it all in one jump. So you have to go from where you start. You have to go all the way up these 6 screens, hit the top onto a platform which disappears as soon as you hit it, and then all the way back down the 6 screens back to the bottom to land onto the prize. And it's just like trying to pull that off takes forever.
You only get to flip the one time when you hit the braking platform.
Yeah, and all the rest of it is just air control to navigate this zigzaggy passage.
Okay. So air control is just left and right?
Yeah. Basically.
You can't control your rate of descent, I presume.
No. So it's that it's an infamous sort of part of this game, and you know it's well known for like you're going to die like 500 times just trying to do this thing.
Is it easy to restart? Does it take a second or?
Yeah, it just instantly respawns you basically at the last checkpoint you hit.
Is there no life system either? Or...
No, it's just it just counts how many times you die over the entire game, and then there's achievements for like. Die less than 50 times, die less than 500 times. I haven't even got the die less than 500 times to get you through the game. I got to like 527 was my last run. It's like, damn. And then apparently, it's only like, I don't know, I don't know, probably a couple of hours, 2 hours, I'd say.
Oh, okay.
Seeing as apparently I've only played it for 4 hours, and I've gone through it twice. So it's 2 hours to finish the game, basically.
And you're very likely to die over 500 times in those 2 hours.
Yeah, pretty much. Apparently,
Okay.
if you do the time trials, which is you unlock after your first playthrough, if you get high rank on the time trials, you unlock the literally impossible mode. I can't remember what it's called. It's got some stupid name, but it's the literally impossible mode. Make it through the game with only one life.
Oh god.
Not gonna happen.
So I'm trying to play Alien Hominid or whatever with one line.
Yeah, and I thought Explosion Man's hardcore mode was pretty intense. Because that was a do every level with one life sort of thing.
Does it mean every level in sequence or just every level?
No, unfortunately not. It was just each level, but they were pretty damn tough. Some of those.
Yeah, they were.
Have you heard they've announced Miss Explosion Man?
Yeah, awesome.
You know, like Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah,
Genius.
that's
So
really
awesome.
cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, so that's coming soon.
I was tempted at some point, perhaps, of picking up Twisted Pixel's most recent game, Comic Jumper.
Oh yeah, I tried the demo of that. I wasn't sure.
Well, that's the thing. Twisted Pixel have this like amazing sense of humor, and apparently that's Comic Jumper's like forte. Is like don't take it
asset,
seriously
yeah.
in terms of a game. Just play it for the comedy value because it's very good comedy value.
But might not actually play very well in some parts, apparently.
Yeah.
Is what
Indeed.
people can say.
Indeed. So I'm sort of tempted because I love Explosion. I love Explosion Man, and the more seems to have from what I've seen of it, seems to have a fairly good take on slapstick humor. So, and
It's
I
not
like
the
the
things
concept
with
of
I mean, the
Explosion
ending
Man.
of Explosion Man is so awesome.
But with the thing with Explosion Man is there's no words. Really.
No,
It's
true.
not like script. It's just like animation, I guess. Whereas in Comic Jumper, there seems to be a lot of script.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty much
there
all
is.
script, but yeah. I don't know.
I like the concept
I have
of
faith
changing
in
the
them.
art style, like between the comics. That's a cool idea. I like that idea.
Yeah. I'm sure there was another game that I was thinking that had a similar... Oh, it's Super Meat Boy, isn't it? That does sort of the same.
Oh, yeah.
Changes the art style.
That's
Not
supposed
as
to be
much,
hardcore.
but yeah.
I haven't
I hear
played
that's
that
like
yet.
super punishing. Apparently,
Yeah.
you will tear your hair out.
I might get hold of that. If it comes up in the Steam Christmas sale. Because I didn't get it on pre-order and I didn't get it on the day it was on sale on the November sale.
Yeah,
If
it's
it comes up
not
at Christmas sale...
It's one of those ones.
It's not so good.
The
It's
sale
a
has
sale.
been pretty damn good because there's been a few gems, but there's not been many big
Yeah.
titles that have come
No.
dramatically down in price. I mean,
Yes,
unless
that
you
makes
were
sense.
going for the crazy gift packs, which, let's be honest, are literally crazy because you get like an 80% off or something, which is mental, but you then end up with 10 copies of the game, and it's
You have to
so you
distribute
get.
them. Okay.
Yeah, you get those 10 you got those 10 copies at 80% off each. So the price was still, it wasn't like a couple of quid or something for the game. You'd end up paying like 10 quid for 8 copies of the game, and then you'd have
But
to
some
give
of
them
them
out.
didn't
And
even
it's
make
like
sense,
some of
where it
those
was like-
some of those were weird. Yeah,
Some of them didn't even make sense where it's like 6 copies of Left 4 Dead 2, which you can only play 4-player.
yeah. Or Osmos. Some of the games that they put on there were a bit strange. Like Osmos, for instance, had an 8-pack or something. It's like that doesn't have a multiplayer element. Why would I buy it in a multi-pack? If they did a TF one, which I'm not sure they did, that's a great idea. But
I don't know, I think the Orange Box was in the sale, but not in a multi-pack.
not in a multi-pack. No, that was one of the highlights. Really, was the orange box for like 3 quid or something, wasn't it?
Have you heard that the competing, I suppose, Games for Windows Live marketplace has had some weird deals going on? They were like selling Deus Ex for 50p or something.
Yeah.
Stuff
Well, no,
like
the
that.
original
Oh,
Deus Ex came up on the Steam sale as well for
was
a few
it?
pounds. Yeah.
There was something else, like a full game for like ridiculous cheapo. I can't remember what it was. Anyway. Oh, I think it was... Nope, it's gone. I remember.
I think the main thing of this season was Orange Box, Batman for a $5, and all the indie
yes.
stuff. They were the serious draws of the.
But then, what will they do at Christmas? That would be the question.
Well, yeah. There's the boxing the New Year's sale. Hopefully.
Oh
will
dear,
come
this
back
is
as
sales
well.
all year on Steam.
Yeah.
Nice.
The bit I was the one I was tempted with and turned down was that they had Blur on there.
for 50% off. So it's gone down to 20 quid already for the PC version.
That's well cheap. A disc copy of that is like 12 quid or something in the shop.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, obviously, it hasn't sold any copies.
Which explains Bazaar's downfall. I mean, half the reason that the PC version hasn't... The PC version has received considerably less interest in the consoles, fairly understandably, but to the point where I checked before buying it and discovered that at peak, there are 60 players online. 60, which is not much.
But as we discussed, probably more than Red Faction Guerrilla.
Yeah, well, I got into one game of Red Faction, and it's basically just the only people that are still playing that are horrendous griefers. But
but Blur was practically designed for multiplayer. I mean, if not online, split screen. Yeah. But I mean, it was a multiplayer focused. I mean, it's Mario.
Yeah,
it's such a massive shame. I mean, Blur is a fantastic game. I have no problem saying that because as I say, it's Mario Kart without the irritation and an interesting handling model, and it wasn't shit, which is, for Mario Kart attempting games, that's not a bad accolade to have. It's not shit. It's actually quite good. But it just, for whatever reason, it just didn't get the sales, and that was the death of it. And it's, I don't understand it, and it's a bit of a shame. Especially seeing as it might be the one that killed off Bazaar, but, well, other than Bloodstone, but...
I still might put it in one of these 2 for 30 quid deals, how they have those stickers on things in bricks and mortar stores. HMV.
I think if you
There's some weird offers going on.
I think the current thing is if you wanted to get Blur, then you'd have to get it for the consoles, because there's more, as far as I can tell, there's still a bit of a population on the consoles.
Some strange Christmas deals going. I mean, I was in HMV and they had an official Rock Band stand for guitars. Just a stand for putting your plastic guitars on. Official branded Rock Band. I think it was Mad Cats or something. 25 quid. And then, and then next to it they had the Rock Band drum set. I think Rock Band 1 drums, because I don't think Rock Band 2 drums ever came to Britain at all. But anyway, they had the Rock Band drum set, which is a huge thing. They've obviously tried to get rid of it, because it was 10 quid for the drums. I was like, what the hell is this? I wanted to get it, but then I came back and they were all gone, I think. Or they might have put them in a stock room, but they might have been snapped up. But they weren't. It wasn't like a big display. I saw the big boxes and I thought, well, they're a nightmare for retailers, having to stock those huge boxes. I wonder how much they're selling them for. I found the price at 10 quid. It's like, and then right next to it was this ridiculous guitar stand thing. Can't imagine anyone being dumb enough to buy that. But
are you with me in the assumption that, and the market? I think we talked about this last time, but that that music games are going through a bit of a death.
Well, everyone thinks that. That's the accepted wisdom. I mean, Guitar Hero, the brand,
sales figures aside, because that's happened
for
as well.
Like years. I mean, Guitar Hero 5 was a good game, but I don't know. The whole thing just, is kind of imploded, I guess. It's strange, isn't it? I mean...
Well, no, I think it's just one of those things. Everyone got into it, and it's like Dance Dance Revolution, everyone got into that. And all of a sudden, everyone realised, well, this isn't really changing. I've done this. I need something new. And...
Yeah. Well, I think Guitar Hero, just the base core mechanic with the guitar without all the extra stuff, it still has mileage. Like, I don't know. Well, as a concept, it might need to lay low for like 5 years and then be like rebooted or something. I don't know. But I mean, it's still fun. You go back to it and it's still fun. And then you forget about it again for a while. It's the same with a lot of gimmicky sort of games, isn't it? But a lot of people played a lot of Guitar Hero back in the day, didn't they? I mean, there's all those videos on YouTube of expert runs and stuff and like 5-year-olds doing it. And it was a bit of a phenomenon, wasn't it? But even if the phenomenon's passed, like, it's still fun to play on those plastic guitars. So, I mean, there's always
not to take any credit away from... Yeah, it's not to take any credit away from Rock Band 3 either. It's
I mean, it's hard to innovate in the genre, and they did. I mean, it's an incredible achievement. And it's sad, because I looked in the shop and that was 30 quid, whereas other brand new games were 40. And it's, and it's that's a bit of a shame. But I mean, personally, I would, if they brought out a Guitar Hero game that had all the tracks from the first 2 games that were all original master tracks, I would play that. I would totally get that.
Yeah, tell me about it.
It just seems, yeah, exactly.
And put it in Rock Band rather than Guitar Hero.
Yeah, for example. Or if it was in Rock Band, yeah, that would be even better. But, yeah, I don't know. They need to work out... Because the thing is, they sell those digital copies, don't they? They sell the on the marketplace, but, I mean, that's... I don't know.
There's a certain annoyance. I mean, the thing that I never liked about the Rock Band series was not that it was... Well, until the latest one, it's been fairly inaccessible for party play, which sounds weird for a party game, but, the setup of it was quite irritating. You couldn't swap players in and out, you couldn't...
Guitar Hero actually did that better.
Yeah, it did in the last iteration, when they introduced party play. But yeah, the whole... it was difficult to set up songs. Sometimes dropping a player out could cause a headache, things like that, and I still never understood why none of them went the completely wireless route. Straight away, how you still have to have a hub and stuff, and tons of cables lying around just to get the thing to work is a bit of a hassle. But at the same time, Rock Band is the better game. The Rock Store is great, but too expensive, and that was my other annoyance, is that buying tracks in the Rock Band store is a bit expensive, really. They're
can't
more
do much about that, though, really.
No, unfortunately, that's not their problem. It's the sort of stupid record industry's problem.
Well, the thing is, the licensing,
they,
isn't it? Costs money, but also it's labour intensive for them to make a track, so they have to charge something for their own work.
Oh yeah, no, I have no doubt that, but I still don't think that should be more than the cost of a single. It's like. The fact that when you buy a track off Rock Band, it's more expensive than if you bought a track off iTunes, which doesn't make sense to me, because you buy it off iTunes and you can use that song everywhere. You can use that. You can listen to it on your thingy. You can listen to it on your thingy.
Thingy and your other thingy.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's the 3 screens like scenario. You can put it on your hi-fi system, on your PC, on your iPod, blah blah blah. You buy it on Rock Band and you can use it on Rock Band.
What they ought to do is, I mean...
It's almost like they want to connect the two together.
Yeah, it hasn't got quite the penetration, but it'd be quite good if Singles had a coupon code that allowed you to get the thing in Rock Band, and then you wouldn't want to pirate the single, because you'd want to be able to play it in Rock Band as well as listen to it on your stereo.
Exactly.
That would be quite a good system. But, I mean, not everyone has Rock Band, so I'm not sure how much, that...
Well, no, if they just did a link with iTunes... So if you bought certain tracks on iTunes, you could pay a little bit more and have it unlocked on your Xbox account. But that's an Apple-Microsoft collaboration, so it probably wouldn't work.
Well, you never know. Apple might be buying harmonics. That would work out quite well for them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Stick Rock Band, merge the brands of Rock Band and Garage Band so that you start producing music on your Mac or at the same time you're playing for high scores on your MacBook Air or whatever the hell it is, or your iPad. Oh god. Anyway, let's not think about that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, rhythm games.
Yeah, unfortunately, don't get me wrong. They'll be around and they'll be around forever because they're always awesome.
They'll be back.
But they almost completely rely on innovation in order to be.
They probably won't be as big as Guitar Hero ever again. I wouldn't have thought, because I mean they were great. They were great rhythm games before Guitar Hero, and some of them were made by Harmonix. Frequency is never going to have the mass appeal of Guitar Hero, where your drunken lads can come back from a night out and play Franz Ferdinand on easy mode or whatever. Go, oh, I'm a rock star. I don't know.
Well, basically, the next
SingStar applies to ladies on that front as well. Let's get in and sing ABBA. Woo!
Yeah.
The next version of Guitar Hero will obviously be when, if it ever, I mean, presuming it happens, which logically you'd say it might do, is when they eventually get a Kinect-like technology that works well enough to detect small emotions. It will be Air Guitar Hero. I mean, obviously. That will be the next step in innovating that kind of rhythm game genre, surely.
Yeah, but I get mildly annoyed when it feels like Guitar Hero and Rock Band aren't picking up my button presses. Imagine how annoying that would be when you're not pressing anything.
Yeah, but that's why I said, in the future when it works better. It's like when the technology is much more accurate.
To be honest, like holding a plastic guitar feels more like playing a real guitar than playing air guitar does.
Yes,
Yeah.
but the whole, like, I don't think air guitar would be aiming to go for like more realism. It would be aiming to go for like more fun.
It would be like one of those extras that would come in on a stupid minigame package, though. You couldn't make anything out of it unless it's all about the poses you strike whilst playing air guitar, in which case it might as well be an extra in Dance Central too.
You're still assuming it's still working on the same shitty technology. It's like in the future, man. Maybe.
Yeah,
like,
but Connector's been around for at least 5 years at this point.
It wouldn't work. It just wouldn't
maybe not.
work.
I don't know. Don't know what.
You'd have to have the whole point of Guitar Hero and the whole point in its success, and the whole point in most rhythm games, to be honest, is the tangibility, the physicality of the peripheral. It's like air drums wouldn't work, for instance. You need that bounce back.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, for that motion.
Air singing you might be able to pull that off using Connect.
Not that
so
you
it looks like you're holding the mic, you know.
Yeah, not that you actually need to hold a mic in order to sing.
But then again, they missed a trick then, because they could do that with the Move. They could have it so the mic gets picked up, the Move controller gets picked up as a microphone, and then they could do stuff with the video to sort of make it look like you're an actual pop star or something. And I can see teenage girls going crazy for that shit.
Because the PS3 so appeals to teenage girls anyway.
That's true.
No, it's because their dads would buy it for the house. Because it has SingStar on it. And that's PlayStation exclusive, pictures.
And Dad can play Gran Turismo.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, oh my god, the menu music in Gran Turismo. Do you know what I'm talking about? The jazz, the smooth Japanese jazz over everything. It just sounds. I mean, they obviously
User
don't
disconnected
care.
from your channel.
Oh dear.
There goes Rob.
Oh. Should we pause this? What happened last time this happened?
He came back straight away earlier.
Oh
so...
yeah, he did. Anyway.
Yeah, well, let's just carry on.
That's the end of yeah, Gran Turismo, like, it's competing supposedly with Forza, right? And in terms of the driving model, it is competing directly. But otherwise, they don't seem to have any clue that Forza even
User
exists.
entered your channel.
Oh, there he is.
Because if you look at the menus in Forza, they're amazing, and the music over the top is freaking LCD sound system. How cool is that? And then you look at the menus in Gran Turismo, they're awful. They're like...
I'll be honest, there are places of the GT design that are in the menu system I actually quite like. That places, but the majority of it, you know, like when you're selecting like special events and when you're generally choosing a race, that's actually not too bad. But browsing the rest of it, like your library, like the store for cars and the upgrade shop in particular, is terrible. And yeah, you have to put up with this ridiculous jazz.
The jazz over the top, it's just so
you know,
corny.
it's fine. It's old school, and I can see why they did it because it's kind of GT's trademark in a weird way. But it's definitely not cool anymore. It's just it should be an option rather than a forced on you thing. And also, I mentioned this last time, but there's loading pauses between menus. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Apparently, though, I heard, and this is a sort of strange get out clause, is that apparently because the GT Online servers were inadequately equipped for the job, most of the loading pauses apparently are when the PlayStation attempts to check in with the servers, and they can't deal with it, and so they get extended, so they're longer than they should be. So if you turn off your PlayStation's online capabilities while playing the game,
great.
the loading times are considerably quicker, if not non-existent in places.
Yeah. Helpful.
And
yeah.
it's completely retarded, basically.
Yeah.
that scenario shouldn't exist ever, regardless of what your online system is.
That really needs.
I mean, why does it need to
had
check
that
online
problem.
for me to go change the carburetor on my 96 Punto? It's...
There was another game that had that problem recently. I can't remember what it was. It was one of the first-person shootery multiplayer, like Black Ops or whatever. I don't think it was Black Ops. But one of them had a problem recently where it was doing there was some online check that was happening, but it was happening like every second or something. So it was just lagging everything to shit.
Oh.
It was like, oh, well done, you've totally made that run too often.
That's way too
Yeah,
much.
that's a pretty bad glitch.
I actually did have a go at Gran Turismo in a shop, and like once I made it through the menus, which was a nightmare because of course I got into the game and I discovered that of course that the triggers aren't the acceleration and brake. And
yeah,
thought,
that's
I know I'm in a shop,
weird decision, but...
and that I'm only going to be playing this for 5 minutes, but I'm still going to change that. So I go into the I press start, and of course the menu comes up, and I think I'll change the option right here. Of course you can't, because there's no quick option for anything. You have to back all the way out, of course. And I eventually found it because it's like a sort of icon. Because the front screen is sort of like almost a faux desktop, isn't it? You have almost a mouse pointer. Anyway, so found the option, changed. At least you can like customize however you like the controls,
which is nice.
So I put that in, and then I got into the game. After all this frustration, I started, and it was a lot of fun. I have to admit, I really like the because I'm a big fan of the. I use the bumper cam or whatever. A lot of people use the chase cam and stuff, but
I'm with you. I played just so you can see the bonnet.
Yeah, no, I play bumper, not bonnet cam.
Oh wait,
I play
actually
right
at the
on
ground.
Well,
okay.
it's actually quite high up actually, but we compared to a lot of but it's like you're looking first person through the number plate basically. And that's the one I use. But it gives you a lot of. I quite like it. Gives you a lot of feedback on your acceleration through the pitch of your car. Seems to be exaggerated compared to other games.
I know what you mean. That's quite nice. You say exaggerated, but I think it's actually more realistic. That element of the pitch and general roll of the cars is very good. I mean, this highlights what I was saying last week. I'd never had a problem with GT's core driving model. I think that's always been really fairly good.
It's really fun.
But I can't forgive it for the rest of the game. No. It's like the driving model and how it handles on the road, absolutely fine. How you collide with cars, absolutely awful.
Yeah. I was thinking about that collisions thing, and
it's terrible.
I know, but I was trying to think what I would prefer, and because I don't want to. If it's going to be realistic or whatever, I'd rather like there was like massive penalties for hitting people, because that like bumping around courses thing. I know it's the only way to win on harder difficulties, isn't it? I mean, but
pretty much.
It's really dumb, and I'd rather the AI was easier to beat, and it had a basically one hit kill where you could barely hit someone before you crashed out. You know. I quite like it so that if it was going to be a big head-on crash, instead of going thunk, with that tiny noise or whatever, instead it just said, right, that's it, and went into a Burnout-style massive crash, and then it rewound you back. I don't think there should be. Because in reality, if you hit, if you look at Forza or something, you get quite nice deformation of the cars and stuff, but you can at least carry on driving. But if you were racing,
if you turn it on the high...
Well, I don't know.
You can turn it on the high damage model, and you can often have a crash that's not necessarily total, but will ruin your chances of winning it. And it's that's pretty close.
I mean, that's fair enough, but then you have to restart anyway, so you might as well go to a burnout, massive flip out crash of doom thing.
Depends how far ahead you are. If you fuck up on the last lap, you might still have enough juice to get over the line.
That's true, but is that going to happen in a real race? Are you going to have an almost fatal crash and limp over the line? In a real race?
No, probably not.
No.
Probably not.
So that's just my take, is that I understand what people are saying, like it would be a lot better if it had these crunchy crashes and visible damage models, but I'd rather they just... Because obviously the guy... What's the guy's name who's into Gran Turismo? He doesn't like crashes because he likes cars and he doesn't like to see them crash, I think. So I'd rather there was like... Do you see what I'm getting at? Like severe penalties for any kind of big crash, aside from like bumping, and then
it's the fact that they're completely absent from the single player at all. I mean, Forza always had. You could mash people out of the way if the damage risk was okay. If you nudged them gently out of your way, then you could get away with it most of the time. You might come up with some damaged aerodynamics, but that's never the end of the world. And the other penalty you got was if you went off the track, you'd get time penalties, which doesn't affect the outcome of the race, but would affect your leaderboard scores and things like that, which and potential like earnings at the end of the race. But at least there were penalties,
Yeah, there were penalties. I'm not saying there weren't. I mean, but I mean, you because it's there. Like, I do it. Everyone does it. It's like zoom to the first corner and crunch your way around.
Use other cars as brakes.
Use other cars as brakes into the first bend. And that it's all very well. I don't know.
It's not realistic, though, is it?
No. I mean, I'm trying to think, are there any, like, non-extreme... Are there any, like, normal motorsports in the world where, like, bumping is kind of an accepted and normal part of the sport?
Touring car?
I mean, there must be.
To a point.
Yeah, they bump a lot, do they, in touring car?
Yeah, but tons.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
That would be it then. The cars are fairly large and they can take the hits, so it's kind of an accepted part of the unless it causes the there's sort of like rules. Obviously, it's unless it causes another racer to actually go out and things like that, it's generally allowed. If they're just nudging for position, if they're because there's too much going on, they're too close together, or the corner doesn't allow their presence, then that's generally okay. If it causes one or the other one to actually, go out or as a result of a collision or something like that, then it's stewards review type thing. They look at it and just sort of say, yeah, that was that dude's fault. Fuck off. Because
they're in like big cars in like NASCAR, but presumably they can't hit because they're going too fast, aren't they? So
no, there's no way. Well, yeah, the NASCARs are strange, aren't they? Because they're basically the bodywork isn't. There's nothing to the bodywork on a NASCAR. It's It's a really, really flimsy shell. So any kind of collision at all rips the bodywork apart and then potentially leaves the undercarriage exposed and things like that. And serious shit happens very quickly.
Yeah. So anyway, but the driving, I did have a lot of fun in it, and I don't know. I would if I had a PS3, I probably would buy it because I wouldn't know what else to buy on a PS3, But then, on the other hand, I probably wouldn't.
You'd buy Uncharted.
Yeah, I would. Definitely. If it was a choice between those, there'd be no question. Uncharted 2 all the way. But if you want a racing game, then I guess
Wipeout.
Yeah. Wipeout.
Or even Dirt 2.
Yeah. Still want to get that. If that comes up in the sale, I might get that for 360.
I don't understand. The bit that gets me quite angry about Gran Turismo 5 is not that it's a mediocre game in my eyes. I mean, I can live with that. There are mediocre games everywhere. And it's, that, and I've never been an enormous Gran Turismo fan. It's the fact that despite all its flaws, the world still seems to be going nuts for it. I mean, the review scores are far too high for what it deserves.
Yeah,
I mean,
I was just talking to Zac about.
I'm trying to look through this from an unbiased perspective, but Forza feels and appears to be the far better game in terms of realistic driving, in terms of content, in terms of the way you progress through the game, the online service. That's a long list already that it's better at, and they're very fundamental features. And yet somehow Gran Turismo scores a 9 off game trailers when half the review is flaws. And I don't get it. I don't know where these are coming from.
I think there's some kind of magic in that driving model that some people seem to like more than. I mean, I played it just for that demo, and I have to admit that personally I preferred it to Forza. Not massively, but I did. And I'm not sure why, but there's something to it, and I think other people feel that much more strongly than I do. Some people think it's way better. I don't know why they think that, but. It's a feel thing, isn't it? Like, I'm sure some people think Forza is way better than Gran Turismo in terms of the feel.
I can't forgive it is the problem I have for its shortcomings. Maybe I'm
well, I agree with you. I totally agree with you.
Maybe I'm a glass half empty kind of guy on this approach, but I don't know. It's just I can't. If for something striving to be the best simulator, there are so many things that don't make it a simulation.
Yeah, if you want a simulator, you play iRacing or whatever it is on the PC.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, something like that. Or,
did you hear about the guy, the Top Gear magazine put the best iRacer guy into a real open-wheel Formula 3 car? Something to see, because he'd never driven anything faster than his, Ford Focus. And they put him in a, I don't know, or Mondeo or whatever it was, and they put him in an open-wheeled... a really faster... It wasn't a Formula 1 car, it was a Formula 3, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, and just to see. And it was really interesting because he was incredibly good, straight away, because he knew exactly when to brake, and he was really fast. But the trouble was that he was just he wasn't athletic. He wasn't he was just a normal computer geek or whatever who drives the Ford Focus or whatever. So the problem was that he wasn't used to all the G-forces, and after the third lap of going incredibly fast and doing really well, he just threw up all over the inside of his, his racing helmet. Yeah, and he was just feeling he wanted to continue, but you have to be really fit to, to be able to drive those cars, and that just wasn't there. So it's interesting that he had all the skills in terms of taught to him by the game, because it is very realistic, apparently, that game. But he just could not handle the actual physical exertion of flipping that incredibly fast car around the track.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, Top Gear did that thing before, didn't they, in the past, where they tried to replicate the two scenarios identically. So they took Gran Turismo on the PlayStation 2, got a Honda NSX, and set a time on Laguna Seca, and then went and did it for real. And it's like the whole thing about G-force and stuff. It just makes any skill you learn in the game is fair enough. You gain the skills, but you put them into real life is a completely different thing in the sense that you need the balls and the ability to handle the G-forces, not to fuck up what you should be doing.
Exactly. But still, it's interesting that
you can on Laguna Seca would be a challenge.
I can imagine. But it's interesting that it does teach you, obviously, the basic skills to go fast. You know when to brake and stuff. So yeah. Zach, should we spin the wheel? Should we talk about Eve for 5 minutes?
Well, we probably need to move on to someone else, but I maybe just want to mention World in Conflict.
Oh, okay.
We do as the last game that I should talk about, because we really don't need to talk about Eve. Because, I'll just say very quickly about Eve. The first third of the first one of 3 parts of the patch has arrived. This one was just basically bug fix. So it's bug fix that has just already happened. 14th of December is taking out learning skills, which is, you might as well just consider that a bug fix, really. And then eventually the actual thing that this whole patch is about isn't going to happen until sometime in January.
Oh, I thought so. You said winter patch means this year, and I was skeptical.
Well, I mean, 2/3 of it this year.
Yeah, all the bug fix is great, not the actual features. Anyway.
No, but so then the other thing.
Playing Cataclysm anyway, so.
Well, presumably, maybe that's why they bumped it back.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, obviously they said we want to polish it, though. But that's really just the excuse. Isn't it? It's already happened, hasn't it?
Has it happened? Yeah,
I think so. I think all the the adverts that I was seeing on sites changed from the world will be changed to the world has changed.
Oh right.
Must have happened then.
Okay, fair enough.
You can tell we're avid WoW players.
Yeah, we have no clue. Yeah, but there you go. I'm sure you can get your WoW coverage elsewhere.
Just sort of filter it out, don't we? It gets to the point with World of Warcraft, we just filter it out. If anything comes out, you literally stop seeing it. It's I do have a couple of
relations or whatever who play World of Warcraft. It's cousins. Well, not even cousins. It's people older than me, basically, in my family.
Well, John plays it, doesn't he?
In my family play
John Barlow plays it, and his dad plays it, and his brother plays it, but his dad plays it, doesn't he?
So people older than me in my family playing it, it's I can talk to you in general terms about this, but I don't know fucking anything.
Yeah.
I play these other games.
You even play an MMO on a regular basis, and you still don't have a basis for comparison on a lot of things.
Well, yeah, because it's not even the same kind of. I mean, Guild Wars is probably closer, I guess.
That's true, I suppose. Yeah.
Nice car.
There's a car.
Was it?
I assume that was a train, but it must have been a car.
It sounded more like a car. Wasn't on my end. That must have been Rob.
No, it was mine.
It's been Rob. Okay, fair enough.
So anyway,
World in Conflict.
World in Conflict, just very quickly. Don't really need to say much about that. I mean, it's an awesome game, obviously. We probably haven't actually discussed it before, because we probably haven't played it. But yeah, it's an awesome game, obviously. I kind of want to start going into it, but we can say that another day, because I've already talked for ages.
Okay. Well, haven't. We've been interrupting your talking. I think you should do a bit more.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Okay, carry on.
All I really want to say about World of Conflict is how awesomely it runs now on my new computer. It's set everything up to maximum.
Have you got the crepuscular rays and everything from DirectX 10 or something?
Oh no, I don't think
like
it has
the
any
smoke
DirectX 10 stuff in it.
Yeah, it does.
What does
Void and
it?
Conflict
It
is
does.
DX10.
Does it? Oh no, yeah, I remember now because there was that whole
the
thing
sun
where
rays and the
you
reflection
couldn't turn the
maps
craters on in in certain cases with DX. It's like I couldn't have the properly bump map craters on my old machine. So now I can. It's like
So
turn everything
what's
up to
the-
maximum.
you can also turn on extra wreckage and stuff like that.
Yeah, I turned that on as well. It's like benchmark it pictures. And then my
So what's your
frame rate
lowest
is like,
frame rate on the what's it called? The stress test thing with
yeah,
the
the benchmark
nuke
thing.
and everything.
Yeah, my lowest frame rate is just when the nuke happens, obviously. Because
Yeah.
it's like when the nuke hits, obviously it has to instantaneously spawn like 1 million fragments of debris.
Yeah.
It's like, boom, and then that drops to like 12 frames per second.
Yeah, I get about the same.
It's not really...
That's my
I mean,
normal frame rate in TF2 battle though. So I mean,
That's what mine used to be.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, so... And then if you turn off the extra debris option, I turned it off and ran it again, because I was like, it's obviously debris that's causing this problem, so I turned that off and see if it helped. Well, turn the extra off, but it only manages to... Turning the extra debris off only gets you 3 more frames per second, so I was like, oh, well, I guess I might as well leave it on.
Might
It
as
makes
well.
the extra debris thing does seem to make a bit of a difference in actual gameplay, though. I think I ended up turning it off because there were certain bits where I noticed it dipping during gameplay, and I thought my system shouldn't do that. So
I don't know. I haven't really played that. I played like the first.
it's
3
barely noticeable as well.
Single player missions. So I
Oh,
haven't
that
gone
one
back
in
online or anything.
Seattle where you have to like defend the dome of doom. What's that
Yeah.
dome in Seattle? I don't know.
I can't remember it's the Kingdom or something, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Kingdom. There was a funny bit where I was just randomly like I was about to drive my tanks down the street and I saw some there's other battles going on all over the place.
Yeah.
And I saw some other tanks drive up and I was just like, oh, I'll just put artillery on them. Even though they're not really a threat to me, I'll just put some artillery on them. So the artillery landed and blew them all up. And then the AI automated effect where it dropped another bomb directly on top of where they were. And it's like, ha! I stole your kills.
Stole your kills. Lol. Excelente. I always have quite a lot of trouble doing the extra objectives. Sometimes it's not very clear exactly what you have to do and when you have to do it. Like on that mission where there's that bridge where you're escaping from Seattle or whatever.
Yeah, over the highway bridge.
And it gives you the special objectives like go and blow up. I don't know. There's a ton of things it gives you to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I always miss one or the other of them when it comes to the end of because it's all very clear in the post-game analysis what you didn't.
Well, the thing is, it doesn't.
But when you're actually playing it, it's like, what the fuck's going on?
I think the trouble I have with the trouble I've had with it so far and playing this one again was you have to sort of learn to be really quick. It's like when the objective pops up, you actually have to sort of swing the camera around because you actually have to see where the icons are physically placed in the world because it's not very easy. You can't really see them on the mini-map.
That's
very
right.
easily. So you have to like actually swing the camera around and be like, oh, it's actually there.
Like there was an objective where there was a bunch of things on a beach which was next to the, river. I say next to the river, or I presume, or the bridge, and like you had to go over and blow them up. I presume was like some kind of communications thing. But if you waited too long to do that objective, then there were too many like enemy APCs coming across that area because there was another wave of assault. So you had to basically do it immediately, otherwise. Yeah. And
it's like you. The worst. It's worse when it's like it has a secondary objective where you have to go up and kill something somewhere else that's away from like your defensive position.
That's right. Yeah.
But the direction that you have to travel in to get to there, you're sort of hitting the waves that would normally be hitting your defensive position as you're moving forward. It's kind of awkward.
Yeah, it's weird.
But yeah.
I mean, I don't mind. It just needs to be a little bit more signposted sometimes. I think exactly what you have to do and when.
Well, you do get a shit
for the
ton of secondary
stuff.
objectives sometimes. It's just like 6, like as many secondary objectives as primary objectives, and that's fairly ridiculous. So you're like every primary objective when you're doing something, you have to be doing something else at the same time.
Yeah.
It gets difficult to manage pretty quickly, doesn't it? Some of those secondaries are just like, there's no way I can get that done. It's like, or the annoying thing is that a lot of them are when they come up, it's like you're not because you didn't know they were coming up, you're not in a position to handle them, or your strategy doesn't account for it. I found that it's like, well, okay, I can't actually deal with that. I'm going to get myself murdered if I attempt that. It's not worth doing. It's like, even though some of the secondaries had like voiceovers as well, to going back to your telegraphing point, it's the voiceovers weren't particularly clear. It's like, if you can, take this out, not if you're going to do it now, kind of stuff. It just, even the voiceovers weren't clear.
They don't really, most of the time, they don't specify like a time limit. You just have to sort of know that when your current primary objective ends, then that secondary objective
it times out. Yeah, that's the thing.
But you don't really know how long your primary objective is going to last. Where it's like, defend this point until the Soviets back off, and it's like, you don't know how long that's going to be, so you don't know how long you've actually got to try and do this secondary objective.
That's exactly.
But then again, that's probably fair enough, isn't it, from an actual
well, yeah.
perspective?
That's true. Mm. Yes.
But anyway,
so
this aside,
it is that, I guess.
Yeah, that aside, it is an awesome game still.
Okay.
Even if the infantry in multiplayer always seemed a little unbalanced, the infantry always seemed to be the shittest team to be.
That's a shame. They should make the infantry the most powerful, really, because no one would
the thing about
because
the
everyone likes
infantry
tanks
was that, like,
planes.
if you. It's like sometimes you could do a lot of damage as infantry if you just had like 6 anti-tank units just in a big mass. Then any tank that would drive into range would just go instantly murdered by like a million anti-tank rockets. So provided you can stop them from getting into range to run you over, or like being shot by a whole bunch of other artillery and nukes and all the other stuff, provided your infantry could be in a position to get a shot away, you could destroy stuff practically instantly.
The problem with infantry, and this is probably quite relevantly, is they require more micromanagement than the other classes, and they're considerably more vulnerable. So their uses, as you say, like they have certain abilities, like as you say, if you get loads of them in one place, you can get a tank down. But then someone will just immediately call in tactical aid on wherever they're sitting. So like precision artillery strike on your building. There goes the building, there goes your men. Or a napalm strike on the trees you're hiding in. Definitely there goes your men.
It's the trouble with
the effort to getting somewhere doesn't, the balance of getting your infantry to somewhere useful to the payoff it will give, it just doesn't exist.
The trouble with infantry in multiplayer is that there is so much tactical aid flying around constantly. Even if it's not specifically aimed at you, you're going to take tons of damage from just being in the vicinity of other things that are happening.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing a tactic with infantry, but I could never... I don't see how it's a viable
spend quite
method.
a lot on like transport vehicles. Like if you put all your infantry in Humvees and then just drive basically right up next to them and unload instantly, because immediately as soon as you unload, they all instantly fire. So maybe you can just like run up, unload, take a shot, load back up, run away.
Your Jeep would go down.
Well, presumably if they're paying attention, if they put a heat shell. Well,
firing heat.
So, Rob.
Up a heat.
Robert Kemp, with his heat rounds. Do you know what heat stands for?
No, I've got no idea.
High explosive anti-tank. Anti-tank.
Which doesn't make any sense in the context of the game.
Because they don't work against tanks.
Yeah, because they're meant to be used for taking out light vehicles.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah. What's the other kind of round then?
I guess you don't actually have any special rounds to use against heavy units, do you? Because the light tanks have like a missile that they use to augment their firepower against heavy
anti-tank missiles. That's pretty much the only equivalent, isn't it? Because the heavy tanks end up with
missile.
like... Yeah, that's it.
Missiles on the Bradleys, and then the light tanks have a... It's not actually called a tow on the light tanks, I don't know what it is called. But it's
Isn't it? I thought it was
similar.
called tows.
They just call it a missile. I mean, through the voice. I've never actually stopped to look at what it's actually called.
I think it is a tow. But yeah,
probably would be in real life. Would be a tow because that's the family
Yeah.
of them. Because there's different.
Then the
kinds, you can
medium tanks
mount
have
them in different ways.
high explosive shells,
The heat.
which is anti-infantry.
Yeah, like
And then the heavy tanks have the heat shell for hitting light vehicles for some reason.
I thought one of them had chemical thing for the infantry.
Oh, well, the Russians have phosphorus instead of high explosive, but it's basically the same thing.
Crazy Ruskies.
Yes. So I move you to Rob because we're going to run out of time. What have you been playing?
That's what I said.
Well, no, not for a while. But if you talk as long as Zach, then we will.
I'll be sure not to then.
No, don't worry. Plenty of time.
Well, I'll go along the similar veins on how Zach started and talk about my
the roulette
experiments. My experiments into
indies.
What do you call it? Indie territory. Well, so the big list is okay. That's not such a big list because I haven't played most of them yet. I have Beat Hazard, Puzzle Agent, Osmos because I went back to that, and in proper games things like Brutal Legend and Dirt 2, and obviously Halo and Call of Duty as well, and Team Fortress. So yeah, pick.
Zach, spin the wheel.
What? I wasn't paying attention.
Pick one of those games that you mentioned. I can't remember any of the indie ones. They've all gone out my head now.
Okay, you weren't paying attention much.
Oh, Hazard. Beat Hazard. Beat Hazard. That's the first
right.
thing, yeah.
Yes, that was the first thing I said. Okay. Beat Hazard. Think asteroids with musical references. It's like it's this one guy's attempt at trying to make a space shooter that's music reactive in the current sort of trend of indie games being that sort of style.
Well, that's basically what that indie pack was based on, wasn't it? It was like
there was a whole pack on
games.
Although I didn't pick up the pack because the rest of them sounded awful. I just picked up Beat Hazard. Which is basically epilepsy. There's no other way to describe it. It is epilepsy. It's the actual game is incredibly basic. It's think it's dual stick shooter controls. So think Geometry Wars. Think Dead Ops Arcade from Call of Duty. That kind of stuff. It's that kind of control system. But you're in space and you're shooting at ships and asteroids and stuff that come in. You get power-ups throughout the game that include making the music louder, and which in turn means you fire more often, and weapon power-ups that make you fire more crazily. Until eventually you get them both up to full power to become a Beat Hazard, which gives you even more firepower, and stuff blows up. The twist with this one, obviously, as I mentioned before, is that the waves are decided by the music, as in certain frequency phrases, according to the documentation, will trigger certain waves of enemies to appear on screen, and certain boss encounters.
So, like,
for instance,
it generates a level from your MP3, does it?
Basically,
okay.
Yeah. It's one of those.
Or
audio surf.
audio surf. Yeah.
It's that sort of thing, which is fine, except there isn't enough variation. Weirdly, for something that's sort of like dynamically generated, you tend to get very similar set waves of enemies. There's only two different types of boss, basically, a mega boss which comes on his own, and two little bosses which tend to fight in pairs, and so they come up like once or twice in every song. You get the other ship types. You either get one that basically just floats onto the screen for a bit and then floats off, and your only worry is that if you're in its path, or these fairly slow moving but heavily armoured things that just follow you around casually. So you just shoot them as you go. They occasionally fire bullets, but they're not particularly dangerous.
So it's not very difficult.
Well, the bosses are hard.
Okay.
Everything else is fairly... The bosses can be a bit difficult because there's just bullets everywhere, and and as I mentioned before, it's epileptic. Seeing what the fuck is going on is the biggest challenge of the game.
How does it compare to Spheres of Chaos?
Spheres of Chaos is relatively easy to see what's going on in comparison.
Okay.
The problem is that they've made all the visuals music reactive as well, to the point where it looks like a piece of visualization software, which is fine, except for the fact that the bloom and glow is like a strobe light, and telling apart the bits of the level from other music, just bits that are reacting with just the music, is incredibly difficult. Like all your bullets, for instance, have a glow to them that pulses with the music. Every bullet that the enemy fires has a glow that pulses with the music. Every power-up has an enormous glare that that pulses with the music. Seeing it all is impossible. And I'm only playing it on the 3rd out of 5 difficulty settings, which I think is labelled as intense.
Okay.
And there's 2 more above that, which I haven't unlocked yet, where apparently the visualization gets even more extreme. So
that's kind of detracting from the game quite heavily, isn't it?
Yeah, really. I mean, it's nice that they were there, but the fact that it's so extreme is actually detrimental to the game rather than beneficial. And they shouldn't have concentrated on that and made the actual variation in the enemies more important. Because at the end of the day, it just boils down to you playing the same thing over and over again, just with different soundtrack. It
sounds like the beats are a bit of a hazard, really.
Boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, it's a slightly more appropriate song for that, really. I'm going to shoot you right down.
Yeah. Should stick a bit of John Lee Hooker in your beat hazard. See what comes out.
It'll probably be quite a casual level. Yeah, but the sort of twist of that is that when things calm down and you can actually see, is fortunately the time where you fire less bullets because the energy of the music is directly represented by the energy of your weaponry. So so in quiet sections, your bullets do fuck all and don't fire very much.
Oh dear! But you can see.
But you can see, so you have to try and avoid shit.
Oh dear, it's hilarious.
It has some good things. Presentation, as I say, other than the super glare, the presentation is fairly good. For an indie game, it's quite nice in that respect. It has a ranking system, so as you play through, you gain experience, and that gives you extra unlocks as the game goes along, like the higher difficulty levels and starting bonuses. So, if you're choosing a particularly hard level, the higher rank you are, the more stuff you start with. Which makes leaderboards an interesting one, because it means the higher rank you are, the higher the higher score you'll get, just immediately. But but you rank up fairly quickly, and you reach top rank fairly soon. So that's not much of an issue. You could probably get to top rank in 2 hours. But
okay.
So yeah, it's, as I say, not bad, but could have been a lot more.
I think it had more potential than if it hadn't had.
It's one of those. I mean, I always had an idea in my head about making a game. Back in the Games Factory and Multimedia Fusion days, I had an idea of attempting something like that, but gave it up because it's a bit hard, and I couldn't figure out how the gameplay would actually sort of flow in a nice way. And this is an example of the exact same problem. Is that it's
It's tough not to crack like that one. I mean, Rez and I don't know who's done music-based action the best that isn't rhythm game.
Because Rez isn't really a rhythm game. It's just that the actions are related to the music. And
that's what we're talking about.
Audio Surf isn't really a rhythm game, but
that's true.
It's a fairly decent representation of the music at the same time.
Yeah, I suppose that sort of counts.
Yeah, Audio Surf definitely counts.
Yeah,
I mean, even Vibribbon wasn't very good at it. I'll be honest. It was a novel concept because it was one of the first to do
idea.
it. But yeah, it was. That was probably the first. But
I mean, Vibribbon loaded the entire game into the RAM of the PlayStation 1, didn't it? So you could put your audio CD in, and it
would make a level out of it, which was cool.
It's a good idea. I mean,
given the limitations of the tech at the time, it was actually pretty clever and well done.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
It's just a shame that it wasn't very good at picking up the beat and stuff like that. But
yeah,
then again, stuff still isn't. So
that is true.
So that's Beat Hazard. Worth a punt at £1, I thought.
Fair enough. And spin the wheel, Zach. This time because I can't remember anything.
I guess you should talk about Osmose. Indie stuff.
Yeah, sort of Osmose, whatever it's called. I think I may have mentioned this in the early days of the cast.
You may have done.
Yeah, a sort of
before you played it
style ambient action.
Well, we'll find out once we've finished with all the. Well, in several months. Yeah.
Osmose. Yeah, you're a big cell. You're a little cell trying to be a big cell, basically. It's like you can eat cells that are smaller than you by running into them. And then I
remember. It's like
then you gain their mass
the first phase of Spore, but a whole game.
Yeah, basically. Sort of, yeah, without the combat and the sort of fighting elements to it. It's far more ambient and sort of floaty than that. Yeah, as I said, I've pretty much summed it up that right there. It's like you eat stuff that's smaller than you until you're bigger than everything else and can eat everything. Admittedly, there are some levels that change it. Like you end up with levels that have some sort of intelligence, like yourself. So there are other blobs trying to do the same thing, and you get antimatter blobs which cancel out with normal blobs, and some levels with gravity wells and things like that. So there's a sort of floaty orbit logic to attempt. But that is literally it, and it's quite good, and it does get very hard. Actually, the last few levels are pretty tough.
Oh, okay.
To the point where I haven't managed them yet. I spent another hour on it the other day, and it's just can't do the last few. They're really tough.
Is it otherwise quite short? But
incredibly.
Hard.
It is massively short, but it is hard towards the end. There's a sudden jump, actually, between where it goes from, this is really easy, this is still really easy, this is still really easy. Holy fuck.
Excellent.
It's
like we lulled you into a false sense of security. You thought this was an ambient game and you were playing this after a night out or something. And
fortunately the game gives you some
difficulty.
Fortunately the game gives you the freedom to go about the order in which you tackle them, pretty much.
Oh, cool.
You sort of level up each sort of style of level. So the ambient floaty ones you level up until you get to the harder ones, or you can level up the behavioural ones. Or the gravity well style ones, and so I'm at the hardest leg of all of them, and so the last 9 are pretty tough. So there's not much more to say on that. It's
okay.
So it's still pretty good. Pick it up if you can.
Any more indie games?
Puzzle Agent, and I missed it out on my first run, but I have started Racketeer.
Oh yeah, you and Zach were. Zach was playing that, wasn't he? Have you finished with that, Zach?
More or less. I mean, I've never got to as far as I was intending to with the Infinite Run, but I guess it'll be there whenever I want to get back to it.
What are your thoughts then, Rob?
It's kind of cool, actually. It's not changing the wheel at all. It is basically an adventure game with a different wrapping, but it's and to be honest, the biggest thing, the thing that's taken up the majority of my playtime so far is conversation trees. And they're not even trees; they're just conversations that you haven't, that just play out, and it's
you just click through them, right? Do you? Oh, it's happened again, Zach.
He's gone. Well, to answer that question, the answer is yes.
Carry on.
You do just basically click through the. I mean, there is a lot of conversation at the start.
User disconnected from your channel.
So yeah, lots of. The only time I saw him play it was during one of the lunch breaks when we were at his office. So I was sitting next to his computer, and he was like, "Oh, there's so much conversation." I was like, "Yeah, you get."
User entered your channel.
Play the game. Oh, there he is. So I covered that topic for you, Rob. Carry on.
Moving on.
Yes, moving on. I think we just covered that about records.
The USB port on the side of my computer that I'm using is far too loose, so it's quite easy just to accidentally nudge it.
Oh, you're unplugging your microphone? Is that what's going on?
No, I'm unplugging the headset, so I can probably still talk to you. You could probably hear me going, "Oh fuck," and now I've got to go sort this out or something.
No. Didn't hear anything, did we, Zach?
Oh, you don't get that either? Oh, okay.
No,
I think TeamSpeak crashes then when it loses a device or something.
Oh, right, fair enough.
Or it just stops working completely because my microphone and headset are on different ports, but yeah.
Right, so games. Are they all the indie games? We got
Puzzle Agent.
Oh, Puzzle Agent. Cool.
Oh, God. Oh.
Tell me more.
Puzzle Agent. It's indie Professor Layton, basically.
As in, it's a rip-off.
Yeah, pretty much. Shameless as it could possibly be. You play out a story, and to progress, you have to occasionally answer a puzzle. And it's not nearly as big as Professor Layton in terms of size or scope, but it is enjoyable nonetheless.
Okay.
It has an interest. It came in the indie story pack.
Well, why not?
Along with Racketeer, and two other. Oh, and Gish and Jolly Rover, which is another one I haven't heard of before. In the same way as Zach hadn't heard of whatever the fuck that other one was, Iron Palm or something.
Iron Grip.
That was close.
That was close. Yeah.
Oh, and Yet It Moves. which is one I had actually heard of. But so I've got those to tackle as well. But yeah, Puzzle Agent, it's quite nice, sort of hand-drawn art style. And
I mean, we're not going to spend
cool.
£35 on a DS game with puzzles, are we? Is it on DS, Leighton?
Yeah.
Or is it Wii?
It's DS.
Yeah.
I think there's a Wii version coming.
So yeah, quite nice to have a little bit of indie of that.
My mum has
the equivalent of a couple of
Professor Layton games, so I guess I can borrow that.
They're actually pretty good. I mean, they're quite addictive. You know, doing lots of little puzzles is quite addictive.
Yeah, I'm sure they're good. I'm just saying, it's nice to have just a little bit of that style of gameplay, even if it is a complete rip-off, just in a little Steam sale pack, rather than forking out all that money for a little piece of plastic that's going to be obsolete fairly shortly.
Indeed. Indubitably.
So,
I recommend Puzzle Agent as well. It's quite cool. It's it's quite funny in places as well. It hits the spot. So anyway, the main proper game I've been playing more of is Brutal Legend.
Excellent.
Which, I'm falling into the bit where most reviewers get a bit confused, and it's like, it's lulled me into this false sense of security of being an action game, and it's turned completely RTS. Yeah. And it's not quite strictly like that. I mean, there become more RTS elements as you go on. But the majority of the game is actually the side missions you do, like have a quick fight, or have a quick race, or have a quick shot in a turret, that kind of stuff, or aim mortar cannons for this dude. That's actually the majority of the game, is the little side quests. Well, the story is still pretty cool, but they're generally introductions to new. The story is basically one giant introduction to a new mechanic every mission. Where introduction mechanic, and then the next mission is use that mechanic, and then the next one is introduction, and then use it, and sudden runaway action sequence, and then
they all flow into the eventual RTS that will be created.
Most of them do, yeah. Most of them end up coming into there, and I'll be honest, I had my concerns about in the second half of the game, because the RTS suddenly starts getting quite complicated. It becomes quite fully featured in terms of an RTS. Yeah. But the controls totally don't let you use it in the way that I think was intended. You start getting the ability to control individual units, for instance, to say, oh, you lot go do this, you lot go do that. Where before everyone near you would just do the action. Which is fine in concept, but getting them to do what you want to do is actually pretty difficult. And I still don't quite get the relationship between ordering them based on where you're looking, and you have this concept of placing a command beacon, and I'm not entirely sure what the point in that beacon is, other than to sort of highlight what you're looking at in a slightly more clear way. I don't know, I don't get it. There's some strange control issues. It's like, I think the beacon is to sort of, you set it up, and then when you issue your next order, things go to the beacon, right, regardless of you having to look at it.
Okay.
Because some bits of the level mean you can't look at it, because there's something in the way.
Right.
And you want to just order them, go there, please. And I think that's what it's supposed to do, except for the fact I can't. It seems to just go while I'm looking, regardless. Maybe I have to hold the button or something, but that sets a new beacon, and it's like, I don't understand. It's actually, basically, the way to play it is to ignore all the complicated controls and just play it in the simplest way possible, and then it's still enjoyable.
Okay.
Like, just order people that are near you, just create a shit ton of units, just get down into the fight and sort it out yourself when you can. And then it's alright.
Do you have the feeling it's going to get hard enough that you'll need to use the complicated mechanics?
Possibly. At the moment, I haven't needed to. I've tried to, and the point of me trying to use the complicated mechanics has actually mean that I've been playing slower and actually had a harder time winning the fight.
Right, yeah, of course.
It's like the time taken to use the complicated controls and the benefit you get from them doesn't add up to just telling lots of people to do it. Take the simple approach and you actually benefit from it.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a shame, but at the same time I can't really think how they could have done it much better with the whole concept of you being on the battlefield and stuff. It's going to be a complicated control scheme, whatever you do.
I think probably they did the best that they could have done, really, but it is kind of maybe it's an inherently flawed concept of the RTS where you have an avatar.
Where you're in the fight, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously made the best of it, but I can understand why reviewers are like, this isn't an action game anymore, and it's not an RTS, and they're not like willing to enter into the spirit of it. No, because they obviously decided, hey, this is gonna be cool. We're gonna have an action game, but it's kind of an RTS, like remember Battlezone or whatever. And then, and then in practice,
it's like because they've tried to be too cool in places as well. Like you can issue certain commands by playing the guitar solos that are used as specials throughout the game normally. So you play a guitar solo to raise a motor forge out of the ground, or a piece of buried metal, or or you summon your car with them and things like that. But in the RTS, they actually have a purpose. You can use them to summon all your troops on the map to a certain position without having to go tell them orders. Or you can change the rally point, so when you build units, they all go to that point. But you have to play a guitar solo, which is a tiny little Ocarina of Time style note thing, in order to do it. And if you want to build a merch booth on a fan geyser, sounds hilarious. You need to do that with a solo, and it's a bit unwieldy, to be honest. Yeah. It would have almost been easier if just say, do the solo for me. There's no need to make you play the game and wait for it, things like that. And some of them are like buff everyone near you, which is quite neat. So make all the attack power of everyone around you high for a few minutes, or melt the face of everyone nearby. Is quite a useful one.
Face melting solo, awesome.
Yeah, quite literally, because they all just stand around going.
What was it like at the end of Indiana Jones?
Yeah, but so that's quite satisfying. But generally, the whole thing about the game is the story. The story is excellent. The world they've crafted for it is excellent. It's just, it's metal consolidated.
That sounds like a strange engineering firm or something.
Metal consolidated.
Like the Midwest, or something from TF2 or something.
Wasn't that the company in that the dad went to in the Rugrats was called Consolidated Lard?
That's right. Yeah. I saw the other day. There's a whole Wikipedia article on Judaism in Rugrats. Seriously, it's quite long, because there's a bunch of like Jewish holiday episodes. I don't know if you remember, and they were saying that it was like, quite unusual to.
They had Jewish relatives, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they were part Jewish at least. The pickles, whatever it was.
Yeah, it was the pickles.
Oh dear.
Oi. And they've played on all the stereotypes, like we don't like television.
Yeah. That Facebook
we
campaign.
think it's evil.
How many Rugrats have you seen on bloody Facebook? I don't know.
Oh yeah, the make your profile picture a famous cartoon from your childhood,
in order to supposedly support against child abuse. But you'd be better off like donating some money to the NSPCC rather than just
something like that. Yeah, or at least filing some sort of official petition or something.
Yeah.
Because some government official is going to go around a list of everyone on Facebook and say, yep, there's one. I
wonder if Facebook themselves get kind of annoyed about that, because it is worldwide, this thing, and it has been going on for about a week, and most profile pictures are no longer of the person.
Yeah.
It's a bit strange. Anyway.
It's like, who the shit is talking to me? Yeah.
I don't think they mind about that, very much. Because people change their profile pic all the time. It's just that the name of the site is Facebook, and it no longer is no longer a book of faces. It's a book of random cartoon characters. Anyway,
cartoon book.
Yes, cartoon book. So, Brutal Legend, and what was the other one?
Well, the other things you played a game of Reach with me the other day.
Oh yeah,
which hasn't changed, still the same. Noble Map Pack is now out.
I think you're getting that now, because I saw the Giant Bomb did a quick look, and it looks like their maps might be just quite fun for Slayer as well as the big games. And since
cool.
I prefer that, or whatever, I might go for it, because they are really pretty, those new maps.
That's cool. Well, you say I have my concerns because you tried to describe them to me, and they sounded large, and they don't always. The large maps in the Halo world aren't always the most fun. Generally I get on with the small ones.
Well, I think that they are large, but I think that the the space dock kind of one looks medium size, but it looks pretty cool because there's a lot of kind of things in the way, like lots of columns and things that you can run around. So there are lots of small areas to fight within a large map, which is quite cool. And there's like a 0G outside bit and stuff. And then there's the pretty sort of Halo, on a Halo one, whatever. So that one's got the man cannons and stuff. And then the other one is like set in. I think it's based on that part where you make a stand towards the end of the game where you're underground underneath Sword Base.
Oh yeah.
That whole bit where you get attacked by waves of Covenant.
The sort of glacier, underground glacier.
I think it's based on that area, but it's obviously heavily modified into a decent multiplayer arena. Yeah. So, and that's quite a good look as well. And then that's they still haven't. And stuff, so
we were talking about it when we were playing, but they still haven't brought the competitive generated defense mode that they had during the beta in yet.
Yeah,
because I liked that. I thought that was cool. It's like the generated defense in Firefight, except the other team is controlled by humans. So the elite human, the elite team controlled by human players, is trying to take on the Spartans to destroy the generators, and then you swap sides afterwards to see if you can hold them back for the time period. And it's I don't know. I liked that in the beta, but it got the Firefight equivalent is just a bit too mental.
It's kind of reminiscent of Unreal Tournament 2004. I don't even remember. That was the
a little bit, yeah.
Generated defense had the vehicles, didn't it? That was weird.
Oh, no, but the game mode that's most like UT though is Invasion, isn't it? With the
that's true.
Do this, then do this, then do this.
Oh yeah, that is. Yeah, that's basically the same, isn't it? Yeah. So.
But anyway, yeah. So, if you dive in, I might dive in with you, and.
Oh, for map pack, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I need to look at my points, or I need to get some Microsoft points and choose how to spend them because there's a few things I want to get on. I'm annoyed because I joined this thing called Xbox Live Rewards that they've only just launched, and you're supposed to get a certain amount of points for free when you do things like renew your membership. But my membership I just got the email today for the automatic renewal, and it hasn't given me the points on the rewards thing. I think I should have. I don't know. I should probably
maybe you have to manually add it in or something in order to.
Pain in the arse. Anyway, never mind. It's like 200 points for free.
So do you have to sign up for this, or does it automatic for live users? Or
it's not automatic. You have to sign up, but all you have to do is put in your live ID or whatever, and then I think you're signed up. So
interesting.
Yeah, top tip: go look that up. Xbox Live Rewards. It was linked off, joystick. So.
Alrighty.
Yeah,
I will do that. And I can safely say there's a mode on Call of Duty I enjoy. A multiplayer mode. It's the Sticks and Stones mode. Because it's freaking hilarious. One of the wager matches. Everyone has a exploding tipped crossbow, a set of ballistic knives, which are basically spring-loaded knives that fire themselves, and a tomahawk axe. And the basic idea of the game is you score points whenever you kill someone. So you score more points by killing them with a weapon than you do by stabbing them with your knife. So most people start with a crossbow. You take a shot. It takes a few seconds to explode after impact, so there's a horrible moment after sticking someone where you're like, crap! Try and take someone else out with the explosion kind of thing. The ballistic knives kill instantly and can be fired over a bit of distance, so they work a bit nicer if you just want a single kill. But the twist is that if you use the tomahawk to kill someone, the person you kill loses all their points. So the balance of power is constantly shifting.
So you don't gain their points; they just lose.
No, they just lose it.
Okay.
You humiliate someone, and you gain some points for the kill, but not much. And so you go for the leader basically and try and take him down with the tomahawk, and then of course the balance completely shifts, and it's pretty cool. It's good fun. You can't take it seriously because it's just so mental and random, but it's hilarious.
But how often does the tomahawk work? Because if it worked too well, then it'd be like the last person to score points at the end, wouldn't it? Because
it works pretty well. It works pretty well because it takes some time. The disadvantage to it over the ballistic knife, for instance, is that it has more of a ballistic trajectory in the sense that it falls off quicker. You have to be dead on accurate with it for it to hit, and and blah 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 blah, and takes time to throw as well. There's a sort of like a quick wind up animation before it goes, whereas everything else is fire the second you push the instant you push the button.
Yeah, of course.
So it's I don't know why, but that just reminded me of something I used to get horribly wrong as a kid. Do you remember the Crystal Maze?
Yes.
And when he started everyone into like when you went into a challenge room or whatever they were called, task or something, he'd say, and the time would start the second I closed the door. I got very confused by that because for some reason I didn't make the association that when he says the second I closed the door, that he meant the second as in time, and that it was something to do with not the first, but the second time I closed the door.
Oh.
Or something ridiculous like that. So then I started listening out for when he said, like, why would he say that otherwise? So I started listening out for things like, oh, and your time will start on the first I closed the door. And it's like... No, I can't believe I got that wrong for so long. It was unbelievable.
I'll be back in a second. Where was the first time?
I'll be back in a third.
Yeah. Wow, a third.
It's like
that'd be quick.
I'll eighthly. So it's pretty much been my gaming week. Okay. And I've spilled an embarrassing childhood memory for you all.
Excellent day. Well, I better talk a bit about myself, I suppose.
Yeah, you do that.
If you're interested, or if you care.
This is the point where me and Zach just go no and try and talk about something else.
Talk about something else. Fair enough. Go ahead.
Nah, go for it.
What have I been playing? I finished The Lost and Damned.
Yes.
You know, I was talking about how the story like intertwines and stuff, and I was wondering about the diamonds and all that stuff. It does actually, having finished it, it does actually tie in much stronger later on in the story of Lost and Damned. Like, you know, as I was saying, like, for some reason, the diamonds are on the ship at the start of when Nico comes in, and then they're mysteriously in these trash bags, like, and you have to go around and collect them. Well, there's a mission in Lost and Damned where you literally take the diamonds from the ship and deposit them in the trash bags. So that explains that part of it, at least. Yeah, and also you're the guys who, I guess it's spoilers, but it's interesting. You're the guys who, there's a bit in where Dimitri or whatever kidnaps Roman, and I don't know if you got that far in GTA 4. It's like when you're in...
no, I don't think I did.
Anyway, he kidnaps your brother and you have to go and save him in this warehouse. But he's actually kidnapped by proxy, like Johnny Klebitz actually does the kidnapping of Roman Bellic. So you have to kidnap Roman, which is kind of cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's sort of fun. And it's just, I love the world of like Grand Theft Auto. There's always some random new thing to see, like, or hear on the radio or something. Like, I was looking at all the brand names. I mean, how many fake brand names must they have come up with for Grand Theft Auto? It's just ridiculous. Now, I was looking on the side of a van, and they're all sort of slightly tongue-in-cheek and funny. Like, it was obviously a brand of milk, and it was Uda Milken or whatever. Uda like udder, Uda Milken, and the brand and the slogan was "The treat from the teat." And it's like there's always hilarious stuff, no matter where you look in Grand Theft Auto. And like, I'd lost my bike in a race or whatever. I was really annoyed. I was trying to get a new bike. I rang up my dude. I was like, I need a new bike, and I was waiting for it to turn up. And this random woman was walking along the street, and her cell phone or mobile started ringing, and the ringtone was the music from the original Grand Theft Auto. That hello. I was like, oh, it's cool, little thing. Stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. It's quite short, but I don't know what you'd expect from DLC. It's much longer than you'd expect from DLC, and yet a lot shorter than a full game. So it feels a bit odd. You know what I mean? So because the story doesn't really, because it starts off quite heavy on the sort of Johnny and then Billy. Like, Billy's the leader of the motorcycle gang, and you're Johnny, and you have a bit of tension. But like, about halfway through, he kind of fades out from story, and then it picks him up. No, he doesn't die because you see him at the end. But so that
would have been a very diplomatic way of saying he dies, though. He just sort of fades out.
Fades out from the story. Yeah, I don't know. It's cool. But the crazy politician is quite a fun character because he's the guy that you see. It like has that whole scene which you've seen, Zach. I think I showed you where like it cuts artfully. He's completely naked and it cuts artfully around his junk for the entire clip, and then right at the end it just shows you his penis for no reason. It's just really funny. It's got like dangly physics and everything on it. Anyway, yeah, it's quite funny. So yeah, it's some damned. And I was thinking of going and getting a Ballad of Gay Tony to complete the package or whatever. So I went on Xbox Live, but for some reason, like, Lost and Damned is 800 points, and Ballad of Gay Tony is 1,600.
Whoa.
How much money? That's a lot, isn't it?
That's a big jump, yeah.
And I was like, okay, maybe fair enough because Ballad of Gay Tony is the newer one. And maybe if I just wait, it'll go down. But then I looked at Undead Nightmare, and that's 800.
Mm.
And what's more, I saw Undead Nightmare packaged in a retail box in HMV. They were selling it for 25 quid.
That. Yeah.
Now, how much is 800 points? That's not 25 quid.
800 points is about 6 quid.
Exactly. So I'm confused by the whole pricing strategy of Rockstar and Microsoft on these products there.
Yeah.
I mean, so I just wanted to play Ballad of Gay Tony or whatever, and it would probably be cheaper for me to get the... even though I've already paid for Lost and Damned on DLC, but it'd probably be cheaper for me to find a second-hand copy of Tales from... Liberty City Stories, or whatever it's called. No, which one's it called? Tales from Liberty City is the one, isn't it? Liberty City Stories was a PSP game, wasn't it? I think.
Possibly, yeah.
It was like Grand Theft Auto 3 for the PSP. I think I had it because
I think you're right.
it was quite hard to control, but it was useful because it allowed you to jailbreak your PSP. It had some kind of exploit in it, and I actually had the. It wasn't called jailbreaking. It's not called jailbreaking.
No, it's just called hacking your PSP.
Hacking it, yeah. Anyway. So you
can run emulators on it. Woo!
Yeah, so you can play Final Fantasy VII. Awesome.
Woo!
Yeah.
But you can do that anyway on the normal firmware.
Oh, that's true. You can't you? Well, that at the time you couldn't, I think. I think when I first cracked it. That's the thing, because I think you can crack it more easily now, actually, ironically, or something.
Final Fantasy VII is available on PSN, so it's...
Oh, is
to put Final Fantasy on your PSP now is technically piracy.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
I think there's some dodgy rules about whether or not you can or can't, because there are tools available of which the legality no one really knows for ripping old PlayStation 1 games into PSP format.
Mm.
So if you have the original discs, theoretically it's fine to use.
Yeah, because you have the disc for Final Fantasy VII, don't you, on PlayStation 1?
Yeah.
So that would be good enough, I think. If it was the exact same ROM or whatever, then I think that's legal, isn't it? You can have as many copies as you like, can't you? Well, it used to be the case.
Yeah, that's how the emulator community gets by anyway. It's like if you owned the original cartridge, say, of Star Fox 64, it's absolutely fine to play it on your PC.
Yeah.
They're generally the rules.
I'm not like it is just a very mainstream sort of sitcom, The Big Bang Theory, but I quite like that they made a joke about poorly coded N64 emulators on The Big Bang Theory on a mainstream program. I was like, I can relate to that. It was awesome.
They cover such a wide spectrum of geekdom in that.
Playing Super Mario on a poorly coded N64 emulator.
It's just the stuff they have in their flat as well. It's like these aren't just geeks; these are incredibly rich geeks. It's like,
they must be super rich.
Just for the hell of it, they had one of those Dyson sort of fanless fans, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Those circles of air.
I don't think you get paid that much if you're a theoretical physicist.
No,
necessarily. Anyway,
especially not a. Well, I don't know. It depends if they've got their doctorates yet or not. I don't know.
Oh, they have, yeah. Because he looks down on everyone that doesn't have. Well, no, well, this is a pointless conversation, but the Jewish guy, what's his name? He's only got a master's, and so they all look down. Well, Sheldon looks down on him for not having a PhD. So it's like lower class of human being. So yeah, I played a bit of. I was telling you, I popped in PGR3 after we talked about it, and it does look fine. But
it still holds up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks fine. The only weird thing is that, as I was saying, because it's because it's designed for at the stage where not everyone had HD TVs. All the text and HUD is enormous. Like, it's really funny. All the dials and everything are huge. Like, if you compare it to
from a stylistic point of view, it looks pretty cool.
But if you compare it to Gran Turismo or whatever, it looks a bit strange. It's like everything is massive. I don't know, so that's quite funny.
It's like the problem with everyone having SD. A lot of players still have SD TVs. I would wager. It's not like everyone has moved to HD yet, but the problem seems to have gone away. No one seems to care that
no one cares.
Capcom games still have tiny text. Or
yeah, I wonder if Dead Rising 2 fixed that. I suppose it probably did, didn't it? I don't know.
Was it? I was watching.
Or maybe no one cares anymore.
I was watching one of the videos on Unskippable, and one of the fairly recent ones, and the subtitles came up on the video they'd made from whatever game it was. It was probably Vampire Rain, I think, and they sort of pick up on it and say, "Well, those subtitles aren't very SD friendly."
Yeah. Make a little joke about that. Yeah, not really an issue for us, but I mean, we should think about those with old TVs.
Think of those less fortunate than ourselves.
Less fortunate, indeed. Yeah. And the other thing I played is I started playing Batman again. The second time. Batman Arkham Asylum.
Rob has to play that this time, though.
I do.
Yeah, but I didn't realise when I started playing it that you'd bought it. I wasn't playing it because I've been saying for a while I was going to play it again, and then I went back and looked at the achievements, and there's one for doing it on hard. So I was like, right, let's do this. But then I started getting bogged down in the combat because I realised that I'd mashed my way through it the first time around quite badly, and so I went into the challenge mode to actually learn how to do the combat, and it's really cool and quite difficult, but I managed to get the perfect free flow achievement, which is for you have to use all your attacks in one, including all your equipment, in one combo without dropping it. And
that sounds harsh.
Yeah, it's pretty harsh. I mean, so how it works is I eventually figured out you basically punch someone twice to go into. So you get your combo up to 2, and then it goes into sort of the mode or whatever, the main mode of combat, and it goes into
Batman mode.
Yeah, it goes into power punch mode or whatever. From that point on, you stop mashing, and because you get a more powerful hit if you only hit the button once per hit from then on, right? So you go punch, and then once you're in the mode, it kind of slows down a bit when you're about to deliver a blow. So what you do is you aim the stick towards someone. It doesn't matter how far away they are. They could be across the other side of the room. You press the hit button, and Batman will leap across and hit that guy, right? But it will slow down, so you get time to decide what the next target is going to be. And so you go. So if there are normal enemies that aren't blocking, you could just ping pong around the room, just hitting them one after the other, and they all fall over, and ching 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 like this in a kind of chain. And then of course it gets complicated by the fact that, and then there's when people attack you can block that, and that counts as part of a combo. So every time you do one of these moves, it extends your combo. But if you let it drop or for more than a second, which is quite a long time actually, or if you fail one of them, like you try and punch someone who's like if you try and punch one of the knife-wielding enemies, that'll be a fail, for example. Or if you try and pull off a block when there's nobody attacking you, that'll be a fail. And the hard in normal mode, you see these kind of blue wavy lines above an enemy when they're about to attack you, so you know when to hit the combo button. because sorry, the block button.
The block button. Yeah.
So the block button is you press the block button when you see those wavy lines or whatever. But in hard mode, that isn't there, so you have to actually look for the. It's quite hard to see because they do telegraph their attacks, but it can be quite difficult to see sometimes. But anyway, to do the whole combo or the free throw bonus, you have to sort of. Well, this is the way I did it. I punch twice and then once, so that you're in the mode or whatever. Then you do a block. Then you do a cape stun, which is you throw your cape and it stuns them a bit. And then you kind of hop over them using the sort of dodge command. You can flip over an enemy like in Prince of Persia. And that counts as part of your combo thing. And then you dodge away from them, turn around, and within the 1 second window, hit them with your back claw thing, which pulls them towards you. Then you hit them with the batarang, and then you do a one of those ground takedown things. And then by that point, hopefully another one of them has got up, and then you do a normal attack to get over to them, build your combo up to the point where you can then do a throw, and then you can do the sort of instant takedown, which are the things that are useful in the actual game. Because once you build out your combo to a certain extent, you can execute one of the two special moves, which are the throw or the instant takedown, which just takes them out straight away without the pause of the ground takedown. Because the ground takedown, they can come and hit you any time, and it takes a while to do. Whereas the instant takedown or the throw, once you've initiated it, you're invulnerable, basically, apart from to bullets. Like, occasionally in the actual game, there are guys with guns, but that only happens much later. And the things they do to mix it up is there's knife-wielding enemies, which you have to stun with a cape stun before you can hit. And then there's the electro-prod guys, who, if you hit them, they'll hurt you rather than them. So you have to flip over them and hit them from behind in order to get them.
Or batarang, presumably.
Or batarang, or, yeah. Although if you backclaw them and pull them towards you, then you get zapped, so you have to be careful there. That makes sense. But, you can...
so how easy is it to get the controls for all this stuff? Have you listed every move there? Or is there
more? That's all of them. So I did all of them in one... If you do all of those in one combo...
So presumably the actual controls to do a specific move that you want aren't actually that tough.
No, to do like a throw, you press... you press A and X together, and then to do the takedown, you press Y and B together. So that's fairly easy to tell those apart. Otherwise, like the equipment is on the triggers and stuff, so that's relatively easy as well. Yeah. So I did. I learned to do the combat.
I am definitely looking forward to playing it because I'm looking at my list of PC games, and it's like. There's not really much else I want to tackle here. At some point, I do need to tackle BioShock 2, which I might do first, to be honest.
Cool, yeah.
Just because, I've still got BioShock 1 in recent memory.
Yeah.
But other than that, I haven't got actually many single-player experiences left to go through on my PC, so it's not going to be long till I tackle that one, I don't think. Just mainly because I haven't really... I started playing Burnout Paradise, but I don't feel like I want to go back to it.
Yeah.
And Dirt and all the racing games I have are things I can tackle when I'm in a racing mood, which generally isn't, which is a bit different to you have different moods. Like sometimes you just want to do a racing game, and sometimes you want to actually sit down and play something for a while. And it's that mood where you're in something for a while that you tackle something like Batman or BioShock.
Yeah, that is a sit down and play through all. You could probably play through Batman in a day, but it would be an amazing day.
It'd be like the best day ever. Which reminds me, I need my copy. I want my copy of Gears of War 2 back at some point.
Yes, okay.
Next round. Simply because I know Gears of War 3 is coming out around Easter time, and it's like I'd quite like a refresher.
Fair enough. Okay, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. 2 minutes. Warning. Oh, he did the warning from across the room. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
Get out of here, Fernando. What are you doing in my house?
Fernando. Right. I will carry on playing Batman and report on more of the story elements next time rather than the crazy combo system. And, interesting. And, Christmas coming up. Oh, so how many more podcasts have we got this year? Because we need to do the
one, maybe
Game
two.
of the Year, official Game of the Year.
Well, yeah, we can do that towards New Year's, I think, would be the appropriate time for that.
Well, exactly. But so after Christmas, do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
And
get our
between
nominations
Christmas
ready.
and New Year. Okay.
So it's a proper end of year style thing.
Yeah, end of
You
year.
know, not
special.
any of these other game of years that like happen in the middle of the year. No, that's a load of bullshit. This is going to be a proper game of the year, and none of this game of the year edition crap either. It's the actual game of the year.
Proper official Happy Salad. I don't think we're going to agree, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a compromise. I think we'll have to have a game of the year each, and then an overall game of the year where we all say it's Mass Effect 2 or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
This might require some planning and categorization and shit, but.
Oh, possibly. I think it'll be a interesting discussion, hopefully for you listeners to hear us espousing on the games of the year.
Preparation. I see us talking about games that weren't actually released in 2010.
I was sort of thinking about that problem, because it's like, can I remember when any game was released? Well, not really. Can I even remember what games I played this year? Like, barely. This is going to be fun. Gonna have to actually like go to Wiki and just look at the list of games that were released in 2010 and then be like, oh.
Yeah, because what new games have you played? Civ 5 you're not going to nominate, are you? I mean...
Well, the thing is, it's like, if it's
30
like
seconds.
If it's like games of the year that you've actually played, it's like, what else have I actually played? Don't really have any choice.
Thank you for joining us once again, on the Saladcast, and we'll see you next time for more crazy gaming chat.
Don't know why I used the bomb theme.
Wasn't the bomb theme?